Chapter 738. As soon as Qin Fian hung up, Xiaoya entered the ward, holding something wrapped in fabric in her hand. Jiang Zhao looked at it and frowned. Xiaoya was still wearing slippers. In front of the two men who were over 185 meters tall, she looked like a little chick. Jiang Zhao walked over. Xiaoya, sit down for a while. The doctor gave Xia Qian an injection. Her fever should be gone soon. Xiaoya pushed Jiang Zhao away, her eyes fixed on Qin Fian, who was leaning against the window. Qin Fian's attitude wasn't as good as Jiang Zhao's. Even though Xia Qian was hospitalized because of him, he didn't feel guilty. If he did feel guilty, it would have been washed away by the questioning of others. He crossed his arms and looked at Xiaoya coldly, his posture saying, "What can you do to me?" Xiaoya walked over. Qin Fian's mouth twitched. "What? Are you going to stab me with a knife? If you have the ability, go ahead. If you dare to hurt a single hair on my head today, I'll break the limbs of everyone in the Qiu family. Don't think that you can act all high and mighty just because you're with Yichen. Why don't you take a look at who gave you face?" Qin Fian's disgust towards Xiaoya came entirely from Xia Qian. He had never looked down on her before. But now, no matter how he looked at her, she was an eyesore. Jiang Zhao walked over quickly and slapped Qin Fian on the shoulder. "At this time, don't talk so much. Are you adding fuel to the fire?" He turned to block Xiaoya's footsteps. "Xiaoya, this isn't Fian's fault alone. Qian Qian kidnapped Fian first, and Fian was also tortured by Qian Qian." Xiaoya sneered. "Even so, the one lying unconscious on the bed right now is Qian Qian, not Qin Fian." The fabric holding the kitchen knife fell to the ground. Xiaoya raised the kitchen knife and threw it at Qin Fian. Qin Fian thought that Xiaoya would raise the knife and slash at him. He didn't expect her to throw it through the air. He dodged, and the blade fell on his wrist, which instinctively covered his head. Dang! A loud sound was heard. Fian. Jiang Zhao didn't react in time and couldn't defend himself from the front and back. Xiaoya wanted to rush over to snatch the kitchen knife from the ground, but two long arms suddenly wrapped around her from behind. At this time, the man behind her tightened his grip. Xiaoya cried out in grief. "Zhuang Yichen! Let go of me, let go. I'm going to kill that beast." Zhuang Yichen tightened his grip on Xiaoya. "If you kill someone, you'll go to jail. Who cares about your sister? She'll be discharged in 2 days. Where can she find you?" Qin Fian stared blankly at his wrist. The bright surface of his wrist had already been broken by the sharp edge of the kitchen knife. He raised his other hand and pressed it against his forehead. Jiang Zhao felt that the atmosphere wasn't changing. He reached out and pulled him. "Fian." Qin Fian slapped away Jiang Zhao's hand. He shook his shoulders, took off the glasses on his nose bridge and smashed them on the ground. He raised his foot and crushed them. "Don't meddle in other people's business. Qiu Xiaoya smashed my surface. I won't let anyone King meddle in today's matter." Zhuang Yichen had always known that Qin Fian was wearing a fake watch. So he never wore the watch in his collection. At least, when he met Qin Fian, he never wore that watch. "Fian, let's forget about this. Xiaoya smashed your watch. I'll pay for it. I have an identical one at home. Who cares about your watch?" Qin Fian walked step by step towards Xiaoya. Xiaoya was like a fighting rooster preparing for war. Her feathers stood on end. Jiang Zhao knew Qin Fian's personality. He liked to pretend to be refined, afraid that others would think that he wasn't cultured enough. He always wore all kinds of glasses without lenses. He said that wearing these things made him seem easier to get along with and made it easier to do business. His spectacles were his outer clothes, but he had viciously stepped on them and shattered them. He was angry. Qin Fian was angry. Today's matter wasn't started by him, but everyone was blaming him. It made him angry, he felt wronged. He could endure it. After all, as Qiu Shaoye said, the one lying unconscious on the bed was Xia Qian, not him. But Qiu Shaoye smashed his watch. He couldn't take it anymore. Qin Fian grabbed a stool, raised it, and threw it at Shaoye. Zhuang Yichen had never seen Qin Fian hit his friend or his friend's woman. This was the most serious thing he had ever done. In this circle of friends, everyone knew how to endure. If they wanted to mess with someone, they would do it behind their backs. If they were forced to do it openly, then it would be like a volcano erupting. Hugging Shaoye, he turned around and smashed the stool onto Zhuang Yichen's back. Shaoye was stunned. Seeing Zhuang Yichen block the stool for her, her eyes turned red. Zhuang Yichen snorted through his nose. Qin Fian's target was Qiu Shaoye. He didn't hurt her, so he couldn't take it lying down. He raised the stool, intending to go around Zhuang Yichen's back and hit Shaoye. Jiang Zhao saw that Qin Fian wasn't going to give up until he got what he wanted. It was useless to persuade him. At first, he was afraid of his words, "I'm not done with whoever dares to interfere in today's matter." But now, he couldn't do anything about it. When he hugged Qin Fian, he realized that his little brother was too hard to control. When Qin Fian thought about his broken watch, he felt a lump in his throat. It was so bad that he almost cried. If he wasn't wearing this watch today, his wrist would have been broken by Qiu Shaoye. Qin Fian went crazy and wanted to take revenge on Shaoye. Shaoye was also shocked by Qin Fian's behavior. Jiang Zhao kept persuading him, "Fian, I'll take your watch and get it fixed. Can you change it to an identical watch cover?" Other than Zhuang Yichen, Jiang Zhao also knew that Qin Fian was wearing a fake watch. Jiang Zhao knew that Qin Fian had been wearing this watch for more than 10 years. A 15-year-old boy wouldn't have bought such a big gold watch with so many diamonds. At that time, Qin Fian had already started wearing it. Some people said that it was tacky for a teenager to wear it. He didn't care. One could imagine the importance of a watch. "No. Mom. Mom," Xia Qian's cries were like a weak bomb exploding in the room. Shaoye broke free from Zhuang Yichen. She didn't care if Qin Fian wanted to take revenge on her. She ran over to Xia Qian, who was covered in ice packs, and didn't know where to put her hands. Her tears fell on the ice packs. "Qian Qian. Qian Qian. Mom. I want too, fruit candies." Shaoye covered her mouth and looked at Xia Qian crying in her sleep. She sobbed. "Fruit candies, fruit candies. Qian Qian, are you orange-flavored?" Qin Fian was stunned. He frowned and looked at Shaoye comfortingly as she caressed Xia Qian's forehead. Jiang Zhao sighed in relief, but he didn't dare to let go. "Qian Qian, do you want the ones that are like orange petals?" "Qian Qian, the fruit candies have been improved. Sister has better candies. I'll give you better candies." "Ah ma. I want 2 orange-petaled ones." Qin Fian swayed. His head started to hurt. He pushed Jiang Zhao away and left the room. As he walked, he felt his head hurt. He sighed. He looked up at the sky. The white clouds were quickly turning dark. They were getting lower and lower, making it hard for him to stand. Xia Qian kept calling for her mom. She refused to answer Shaoye. Shaoye knelt by the bed anxiously. She saw Xia Qian's exposed skin turn red and black. She cried until her voice was hoarse. Bing Dan, sister is calling you. Can you hear me?" Qin Fian drove back to the Qin mansion. "Young master, you're so early today." Mom happily went to take Qin Fian's briefcase. "Where's Grandpa?" the old maid said with a mysterious smile. "He's in the study. He's writing. I'll go over." "Young master, what do you want to eat tonight?" "I like everything you make." Mom loved to hear this. She was so happy that her eyes narrowed into slits. "Okay. Qin Fian pushed open the door to Qin Rongfang's study. He put on his usual smile. Grandpa. You're back. Yes. I don't have much to do today. Did the sun set in the east today? You came over for dinner without calling after work? Qin Rongfang had the demeanor of an immortal. He didn't look up. He held his sleeve in one hand and a brush in the other. He was inscribing on the landscape that he was painting. Qin Fian walked to the side of the yellow rosewood desk. The inkstone was placed in front of him. He held the black inkstone in his hand, making his knuckles look white and slender. When he ground the inkstone, he said slowly, Grandpa, have all the people who kidnapped me been caught? Qin Rongfang frowned. The brush stopped in midair. He put it on the shelf and looked at Qin Fian, who looked a little lonely. Of course. Those who dared to kidnap my grandson, didn't I break their bones one by one? Grandpa, I don't think we caught all of them at once, right? You don't believe in Grandpa's methods? Qin Fian shook his head. I keep feeling that something is wrong. Since they were talking about the kidnapping 10 years ago, Qin Rongfang couldn't let his guard down. He rested his chin on his hand. You came back so early today because of this? Have a cup of tea and tell me slowly. Qin Fian put down the ink in his hand and wiped his hands with a wet towel. The aroma of tea filled the air. Qin Fian didn't like drinking tea. He liked coffee. No matter if it was bitter or had milk or sugar, it had a stronger taste than tea. He liked the taste of something fresh and more intense. Even if Qin Rongfang had opinions about his preferences, he wouldn't interfere too much. At most, he would say that he worshipped foreign things. Today, looking at his grandson who was frowning after drinking his partner's coffee, Qin Rongfang made the tea even more slowly. Fian, what do you want to say? Grandpa, how many people were involved in the kidnapping of me? 9. Qin Fian said again. But at that time, you paid the ransom. After the kidnappers were all caught, the ransom disappeared. Don't you think there were some fish that escaped the net? Qin Rongfang pondered for a moment and said, it was said that the ransom was taken away by the local villagers. No one was willing to say anything. We checked and it was indeed so. Looking at the thoughtful Qin Fian, Qin Rongfang asked, Fian, you also hid some things from Grandpa back then, right? Qin Fian didn't say anything. Qin Rongfang said again, since you came back, I found that you were a little strange. How am I strange, Ad? Hongcha 866. Chapter 739. Qin Rongfang took a sip of tea. Grandpa has asked you many times, but you were unwilling to tell me. I was also afraid that the incident had traumatized you, so I didn't ask. You bought a small sugar factory, the machines were old, the ingredients were primitive, and there were only a few old workers. The factory was small and uninnovative, and the wages of the workers were not low. It was equivalent to feeding a few people there. You never liked to eat sugar, and if you wanted to eat, you would occasionally peel the kind produced by your own sugar factory. Speaking of our Qin family, we're the wealthiest family in High City. Yet, my own grandson wears a fake watch all day long. Although outsiders never say anything about it, I'm puzzled. If you can't afford it, Grandpa can buy it for you. But are you someone who can't afford it? Ever since you came back that time, you didn't get close to female classmates. You even asked me to tell the school leaders that girls can't sit around you. At that time, I thought you wanted to focus on your studies and was afraid that girls would harass you, so I didn't think much of it. But later, you became more and more ridiculous, and even told the public that you were gay. Fian, Grandpa doesn't know how much trauma that kidnapping caused to you, but the psychological consultation said that the impact was not big. But with your various changes, Grandpa can't help but worry. You're not young anymore, and Grandpa is old. Grandpa can't force you to do anything, but you're the only child of the Qin family now. You're right. Your sister-in-law is pregnant with twins now, and you want to give one of them to Grandpa to take the surname Qin. But if it's a boy and a girl, do you think Grandpa will have the face to snatch a grandson from the Jiang family to take the surname Qin? Even if Grandpa Jiang agrees, Grandpa can't do such a thing. Zhao Zhao's job doesn't allow him to have a second child. Grandpa can't do such things that make things difficult for others. Can you understand Grandpa's painstaking efforts? Qin Fian did not answer. Grandpa, these years, I've been looking for someone. A girl? Yes. Qin Rongfang was so agitated that he almost knocked over the teacup in his hand. Tell me, Grandpa will find her for you. Qin Fian lit a cigarette in annoyance. He rarely smoked. At home, Qin Fian did not allow the younger generation to smoke in front of him. Today, he let Qin Fian do as he pleased. He even patiently waited for him to finish smoking before talking to him. Qin Fian exhaled a puff of smoke. The place where I was kidnapped was Wanderer Village, but I lived in Starfield Town for a period of time. I took the bus back to Sea City by myself, so I didn't tell you about this. Qin Rongfang's joy was suddenly covered up. You bastard. You didn't mention this part. What if there are some clues missing? What if something escapes the net? Qin Fian sighed. I was afraid that you would disturb the peace there. My benefactor lives in Starfield Town, and I visit him every year. In fact, I only didn't go the first year because you kept a close eye on me. But after that, every time I went, I only saw an empty courtyard. Then why are you telling me all this now? I was thinking that you hid the information about the kidnapping of me very well. Can you show it to me now? I want to see if it's because you saved me, and if that family was implicated. How could it be that they disappeared overnight? The villagers all said that the family went to the market and never went back. Qin Fian took a deep puff of the cigarette. After a while, he exhaled the smoke. The smoke swirled in front of him, grayish-white. It was smoking, and those wisps were fading away, circle by circle, but some memories seemed to be engraved in his bones and could not fade away at all. Hey, my name is Bing Dan, You country people's names are really old-fashioned. Ma said that my name is very nice. Here's some candy for you. Today, Ma gave me 2 orange-flavored candies. Look, these orange petals look like oranges. We have a lot of candies at home. They're better than this. Then give me your candy. I don't give my candy to outsiders. I'll get you out of here. When you grow up and marry me, I won't be an outsider anymore. I can eat your candy. Okay, if I get you out of here, I'll give you my candy. No. You still want to marry me? Okay, I'll marry you. Then you can't divorce your wife like Father Nyo on the slope. Your mouth can't be like those people on TV, and you can't just let others kiss you. Okay, if you get me out of here, I won't kiss anyone else in the future. I'll only kiss my wife. Tomorrow, I'll let the children from the same village come over to herd the cows. I'll also bring my family's cows. My family is very rich, and we have 3 cows. When the time comes, I'll fence the cows, put you in a straw basket, and get you out of here. No one will find out. When you marry me, I'll ask my amma to give me the 3 cows as my dowry. What do you think? Not enough. You have to give me a watch as my dowry. I want a very expensive watch. Only then can I marry you. Okay, if you're good looking, I'll give you a watch. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. He didn't like being threatened. But at that time, he was already bored in the cellar. As long as someone said that they wanted to get him out, he was willing to agree to anything. Anyway, after he got out, he could go back on his word. Bing Dan told him that in her village, the 14-year-old swallow was already married, and the 16-year-old red plum was already a mother. Unbelievable, country people. In fact, most of the children in their teens had their first awakening of love. But at that time, he felt that his aesthetic standards shouldn't be like that. Bing Dan's single eyelids weren't good looking. The children in the village ran around happily outside, and their skin was darker than the girls in the city. Bing Dan said that her family was very rich. In order to show that her family was very rich, she always stuffed meat into his bowl. She said that her family was very rich, and she ate too much. She was annoyed when she saw meat. Bing Dan was only 12 years old at that time. Qin Fian's vision was a little blurry. He touched his nose. Looking at the cracked surface on his wrist, his heart ached. He didn't know where she stole this watch. She went to the city with her pa that time and didn't get hurt when they came back. Even her pa didn't know. In his eyes, Bing Dan was extremely smart. At that time, she probably wanted to prepare a dowry and marry him. She even said shamelessly in front of him, "I stole it because that person said that this was the most expensive watch." Bing Dan was extremely smart. The kidnappers hid him in the refugee village. There were mountains everywhere, and there were many potato sellers in the mountain valleys. No one knew. But Bing Dan could get a group of cowherd boys to cover up. They could smuggle him out of the potato cellar and steal the watch as a dowry. Bing Dan had a pair of single eyelids, but her eyes were especially bright. It was her pupils that were especially bright, and she always had a lot of ideas. He remembered that she always ran away happily. Back then, Bing Dan liked to fold candy wrappers. She would keep the candy wrappers after eating it and fold them into butterflies or dragonflies. At that time, she brought him out of the refugee village and brought him back to Starfield Town. He stayed at her house, and there were candy wrappers and dragonflies strung together under the mosquito net. When he left, she gave him packets of candy wrappers. When he couldn't find her, he followed the address on the candy wrappers, found the sugar factory, and bought it. He originally wanted to torture Xia Qian to death, but when he heard Xia Qian call out, "Mama," again and again, he had the urge to cry. At night, in Xia Qian's ward at Rinxin Hospital, Qin Fian peeled off the candy wrappers. The candy wrappers made a cracking sound, and the petals of the past started to rain in his mind. It rained flowers all over the sky. He pinched open Xia Qian's mouth. Xiaoya was about to kick up a fuss when she saw the hard candy that was like an orange petal. She froze. In the next second, Qin Fian had already thrown the candy into her mouth. Qin Fian pulled a stool across the bed and sat down facing Xiaoya. "Xia Qian should be from Starfield Town, right? How did you know?" Qin Fian's heart skipped a beat, but he still hoped that he could calm down. Maybe she wasn't. A 12-year-old girl couldn't have changed so much in just 10 years. His impression of Bing Dan was completely different from Xia Qian. Bing Dan was 10,000 times smarter than Xia Qian. Then why did all of their families disappear in just one night? I've also checked, and they don't have any relatives. Qin Fian couldn't help but laugh when he saw Xia Qian, who was sleeping soundly, sipping the candy in her mouth with a "biu-biu" sound. Only then did Xiaoya see the candy wrappers in Qin Fian's hands. These kinds of candies didn't exist anymore. Bing Dan liked to carry these candies with her when she was young. She stared at Qin Fian for a long time before saying, "We're very distant cousins." The locals don't know. Late at night, Qin Fian walked out of the hospital. He started to beat his chest with all his might. As he beat, he kicked everything that could be kicked. The person he had been looking for more than 10 years had been tortured so badly by him. Xiaoya's sobbing voice still echoed in his ears as she recounted, "At that time, they came to visit our relatives. At first, I despised them because they were from the countryside and I didn't like them very much. My mother always praised her for being hardworking, so I disliked her even more. At that time, our family went to the countryside to avoid the summer heat. A fire broke out at a farmhouse and her parents were burned to death. She was seriously injured because she tried to save me. My parents almost used up all their savings for her treatment and skin grafting. She didn't have many burns on her face, but her eyelids were burned. My mother said that girls shouldn't have scars on their faces, so she had her double eyelids cut along the scar. When she woke up, she couldn't remember anything. She didn't even recognize me. She didn't even know who her parents were. Actually, this was the result we all hoped for, so we gave her a new name, Qin Fian didn't know what to do. He was still a little uncomfortable and couldn't get used to it. The person he had been looking for was right there, but he couldn't recognize her. She had gone through so much suffering and had to undergo skin grafting on a large scale. Xiaoye said that everyone in the family felt guilty and almost went bankrupt for Xia Qian's treatment. They were afraid that if something went wrong, it would cause a girl to regret it for the rest of her life. When he was rubbing her body, he heard her begging him. She said that the skin on her body was all grafted and would be damaged if he rubbed it. With a loud bang, he punched himself in the chest again. Those sobs and cries for mercy were like a demon's voice in his ears. Qin Fian trembled a little. He sat in the car and locked himself in. He laid the seat flat. He thought that he might as well sleep like a log. When he was in the dark potato cellar, he only ate sweet potatoes. Come and see Xinwu 799. Chapter 740. She would always knock on the wooden board. When she heard his voice, she would throw a candy to him through the crack, saying that her family was rich, so she had candy to eat. Sometimes, she would wrap a boiled egg in the paper of her exercise book and throw it in for him. Later, she said that she didn't want to marry him at first, but because he was pretty, even though her family was rich and giving him 3 cows was a little too much, he was pretty and she thought about it. The darkest time of his life was when he was 15 years old. When he was kidnapped, the brightest time was when she threw food for him to eat every day. Initially, he wanted to go back on his word. He still felt that Bing Dan wasn't pretty. When he saw her face the moment he came out of the cellar, he wanted to go back on his word. Bing Dan was a girl with single eyelids and wasn't pretty. How could a child's words count? But he felt that he was a man. Even if he wanted to go back on his word, he had to find her and make things clear to her. Even if he wanted to go back on his word, he still had to sit at the table and make things clear, right? Moreover, he was the young master of the Qin family. If he didn't make things clear, he wouldn't be able to get a girlfriend or marry a wife. He had to be responsible for his promise. But every time he went to Starfield Town, the things wrapped around his pride became thinner and thinner. Every time he sat on the train, he would think that single eyelids weren't pretty, but her eyes were especially bright and were actually very pretty. Anyway, he would force himself to marry her. After all, he was a man. How could he go back on his word? Every time he went to Starfield Town, he brought more and more things with him. He always wondered if she liked more things now that she was a little older. She was 15 or 16 years old, and she was 18 to 19 years old. Girls always liked different things. CDs, MP3s, MP4s, MP5s, and girls' favorite things were cell phones, tablets, and dresses. He didn't know if she had grown taller, but he always bought one for each age. Those things that he felt that the children in the countryside wouldn't have, he would bring them year after year. He always remembered her raising her chin and saying to him, "Our family is very rich. Our family is the richest family in Starfield Town. If you marry me, you'll be very proud. Our family has 3 cows and a big house with about 10 rooms. There aren't many families in Starfield Town with more than 10 rooms." She put the kitchen, chicken pen, cow pen, and dog kennel. They were all included in the layout of her house. When he lived in her house, she always threatened him, "Don't think that you're so great just because you're beautiful. There are many people who want to be our son-in-law. Among those people, there are also some who are good-looking. There are even people who are better looking than you." Until one day, when she stuffed some money into his hands, she said with reddened eyes, "My mother said that you're the child of a rich family, so you should go back home. My mother said that your family will be worried. My mother said that your family is richer than mine, so you can wear different clothes and shoes every day. We can't afford them. My mother asked me to send you to the train station and let you go back to the provincial capital." That day when she sent him to the car, she only asked him, "Do you still mean what you said?" He just nodded. She grinned. Let's go. When I enter junior high school, there will definitely be a lot of boys who like me. If you don't hurry up and marry me, I will be snatched away. After the car drove out, he stuck his head out to look at her and saw that she was wiping her tears. When she saw him stick his head out, she immediately smiled at him. At that time, his eyes were also blurry. Other people said that children in the countryside were shy, but he had never thought so. This was because there were many girls in the countryside who got married at the age of 14 or 15. Many of them stopped studying and got married when they entered junior high school. In fact, he went to Starfield Town many times a year. He was really worried that she would get married before finishing junior high school. However, Bing Dan said that her family was rich and she didn't have to quit school to get married. She still had to go to university because she was the only child in the family and her parents could afford it. Thinking of this, he wasn't so anxious. The more he didn't see her in these years, the deeper his impression became. It was so deep that he couldn't erase it from his mind. Later on, it was so deep that he felt that there was no girl who was prettier than Bing Dan. Bing Dan had the world's prettiest single eyelids and the world's prettiest eyes. They sparkled like stars. There was always sweat on the tip of her little nose, and she was cuter than anyone else. Her teeth were like small beads, and when she bit on the hard fruit candy, there was a crunching sound. When she smiled at the sunlight, her little white teeth reflected the light. Qin Fian felt that water had entered his ears. They were wet and he casually reached out to touch them. His chest heaved up and down and he spurted out from time to time. He took a deep breath and then sniffled. Finally, he raised his arm and covered his eyes. He didn't dare to stay in Xia Qian's ward. He didn't dare to think about how he had treated her. He couldn't even forgive himself. How could he let others forgive him? Qin Fian turned over. His body curled up into a ball. His sobs were very suppressed. The depression in his heart made his entire stomach ache. He didn't know what he did wrong. God just had to go against him. There were a few times when Xia Qian approached him, provoked him, kissed him, and took off his pants. He didn't kill her because he lost his kiss. He should have sensed something was wrong. But he didn't have any thoughts. He didn't threaten Dan. Did he bring this upon himself? The surface she gave him was also broken. After so many years, it hadn't been broken. Now that it was broken, what did it mean? Was it an ominous order? Qin Fian had never been so impatient. He anxiously kicked the steering wheel with his long legs. Every kick, he exerted all his strength. After kicking for a while, he finally sat up when he had no more strength left in him. Why should I be sad? Why should I be sad? I found the person I wanted to find. Shouldn't I be happy? I didn't know that she was Dan. Didn't she mess with me too? Does she want to break off the engagement because of this? No way. How could an engagement that had been arranged for more than 10 years be broken off just like that? No such thing. Qin Fian pulled out a few pieces of tissue, wiped his tears, and opened the car door. He got out of the car and straightened his back. Finally, he realized that something was wrong and got back into the car. When he started the engine, he realized that the steering wheel was a little crooked. Jiang Zhao and Zhuang Yichen had been in the ward the whole time because they were afraid that Xiaoya and Qin Fian would fight. But just now, they clearly felt that the two of them didn't quarrel anymore. There seemed to be an indescribable tacit understanding between them. In fact, even Xiaoya couldn't figure out what was going on. She guessed that Qin Fian really wanted her to get better. Everyone saw Qin Fian's abnormality. Jiang Zhao guessed something, but he couldn't be sure. So, he waited. What he waited for was Qin Fian entering the ward with a big bouquet of roses. He had his usual smile. The glasses on his nose bridge fit his face perfectly. Looking at the person lying on the bed, one could think of a word, a beast in human clothing. He didn't mind the awkwardness of making a scene during the day. He waved his hand familiarly and said hi to everyone. Xiaoya's mouth twitched. When Qin Fian came in with a serious expression, she felt a little better. But this cheeky smile of his was really asking for a beating. Qin Fian handed the roses to Xiaoya. Zhuang Yichen snatched it and threw it on the other empty bed. Qin Fian, what are you doing? What am I doing? You're so annoying. Qin Fian rolled his eyes at Zhuang Yichen. He picked up the flowers on the empty bed and handed them to Xiaoya. This time, he didn't give Zhuang Yichen a chance. He knelt on one knee. Sister Xiaoya, marry Xia Qian to me. Pft. 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 Xiaoya, Zhuang Yichen, and Jiang Zhao. The three of them almost spat at the same time. Jiang Zhao felt that this was a very valuable piece of news. He was a little excited and quickly walked out of the ward to call Qin Rongfang. Grandpa, did you know? Fian proposed to a girl. Qin Rongfang was drinking tea and almost spat it out. He clutched his chest and quickly made himself lie flat on the sofa to calm his heart before asking, Really? Really, but that girl is in the hospital now. You know her too. Last time, she ate stinky tofu and kissed Fian. Later, when Yun Yi and I returned to Jiang District for our wedding, she was the bridesmaid, Xia Qian. Qin Rongfang wasn't disappointed. Instead, he asked curiously, Her? Yes, but she's in Rinxin Hospital. It's all Fian's fault. Qin Rongfang hung up the phone and shouted anxiously, Old Wu. Old Wu. Prepare the car. Prepare the car. Xiaoya couldn't take this kind of provocation. Qin Fian looked like he wanted to kill her before, but now he was calling her sister and kneeling down. Besides, the doctor had said that Xia Qian's injury would be fine as long as her temperature was lowered. She was still being sedated, so she couldn't feel the burning pain. Her fever should be gone by noon tomorrow. It wasn't a terminal illness, so he didn't have to take such responsibility. But Qin Fian looked very serious. Zhuang Yichen put his hands on his waist, bent down, and moved his face in front of Qin Fian. He frowned as if he was studying a cultural relic. Hey, Fian, your rhythm isn't right. Qin Fian glared at Zhuang Yichen and snorted. My rhythm is always right. Then he continued to raise the flowers in front of Xiaoya. Even if you want to pretend, don't harm my sister-in-law, Zhuang Yichen added. When Xiaoya heard this, she suddenly remembered that Qin Fian was gay. Damn, wasn't she pushing her own sister into a fire pit? Qin Fian, get up. The doctor said that she didn't burn anything. My sister doesn't want you to take responsibility. Ah, why don't you want me to take responsibility? Qin Fian was confused. That's not right. I really want to take responsibility. Why don't you let me? Zhuang Yichen swallowed again and reached out to touch Qin Fian's forehead. You don't have a fever, do you? Did your boyfriend fight with you? Qin Fian slapped Zhuang Yichen's hand away in annoyance and stood up with a whoosh. He shoved the flowers in his hand into Xiaoya's hand and said righteously, Anyway, I don't care anymore. Since you don't want me to take responsibility, then let her take responsibility for me. After this incident, my heart has been seriously damaged. Do you know what she did to me? Not only did she strip me naked, she even broke my orange flowers. Pft. Pft. Welfare, Hangcha 866. Chapter 741. Qin Fian glanced at Zhuang Yichen and Xiaoya. At this time, he sat on Xia Qian's bed. After sitting on it, he propped himself up with his arms and stood on his tiptoes. He looked calm and composed, as if he was the host. Since you think that Xia Qian's injuries aren't serious and that she'll recover soon, I'll tell you how serious my injuries are. Qin Fian grunted. Don't think that I look like a good person who's fine right now. My heart has been hit hard. Do you know how fatal the blow to a man's self-esteem is when he's kidnapped by a woman, a short woman? Qin Fian talked about his own pain, but there was no sadness on his face. Instead, he shook his neck and leisurely talked about the insults that he couldn't bear to be mentioned. Xiaoya's mouth was agape. She had seen a lot of shameless men. Really, she had seen a lot of beasts in the upper class. Sometimes, she could hear those rich playboys say shameless things outside the changing room. But Qin Fian was like this. She really felt ashamed for him. How was he shameless? He had no face at all. Qin Fian, you can't blame Xia Qian for this. You've had many enemies. Ever since she found out that Xia Qian had provoked Qin Fian first and that her body was fine, she didn't hold a grudge against Qin Fian. Now that she heard that a gay man wanted to marry her sister, she could only persuade him patiently. She was afraid that this man would give up and hurt her sister. Yes. Qin Fian raised his hand and pointed at Xiaoya. He snapped his fingers beautifully. Xiaoya, Jia is right. He tilted his head and looked at Zhuang Yichen, who was studying him. He rested his chin on his hand. Hey, Yichen, did you hear what Xiaoya said? Well, Qin Fian, I think there's something you need to change. One is Sister Xiaoya, and the other is Yichen. Shouldn't you unify your seniority? Qin Fian shook his head. Why should I correct it? I call you Big Sister just like my wife. You haven't gotten your marriage certificate with Big Sister Xiaoya yet. We can't mess this up. If brother-in-law changes in the future, I'll be calling you Big Sister for nothing. After saying that, he looked at Xiaoya and said, right? Sis. Xiaoya rolled her eyes. He was already calling her his wife. Damn, Qin Fian's marriage speed is like a rocket. Qin Fian changed his words very quickly. Zhuang Yichen gritted his teeth and raised his foot to kick Qin Fian's leg. Qin Fian jumped up from the bed to dodge. Zhuang Yichen glared at him. Qin Fian. I never knew that you were so annoying. Sis, look, he's afraid that I'll tell the truth. Xiaoya waved her hand. Stop calling me sis. You're making me sound old. I still have to call you sis, 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 sis. Qin Fian placed his hands on his waist and began to do the 8th set of radio calisthenics. His butt moved in big circles as he said lazily, you said it yourself. We've had many feuds, and she's always the one looking for trouble, right? The first time, she ate stinky tofu and even bit me. Sis, you saw it, right? She kissed me in front of so many people. Everyone knows that. That was my first kiss. How could she take it away just like that? Xiaoya face-bombed. Zhuang Yichen simply sat down and flipped through the magazine. Don't talk about integrity with a young master who says that he's gay every day. He doesn't have it at all. If he did, he definitely wouldn't let anyone know that he's gay. The second time at the swimming pool, she took off my pants. You all know about it, right? Other than when I was young and couldn't take care of myself, my pants have never been taken off by anyone in my life. Tell me, who's the one responsible? This time, she kidnapped me again. Not only did she hurt my pride, but she also left a serious psychological shadow in me. This shadow might stay with me for the rest of my life. Go and take a look at that room. She bought a bunch of things on the table. She bought some tools to torture me. If you saw it, wouldn't you criticize her cruelty and sympathize with me? She should be despised by the whole world. You said that a man like me was tied up by her and was completely naked. She even touched me all over my body. Qin Fian then remembered that Xia Qian had also touched him there. His face turned red, and he coughed. He quickly said, anyway, she committed a heinous crime. If she doesn't want to take responsibility for me, I won't let it go. Xiaoya nudged Zhuang Yichen. Yichen, say something. You'll pay for it. Okay, you. Let young Master Qin name a price. Zhuang Yichen didn't even raise his head. Qin Fian stopped exercising and frowned. Can money make up for the damage that Xia Qian has done to me? Do you think that my mental health isn't important? Xiaoya saw that Zhuang Yichen didn't care and was a little anxious. You still want to take revenge on Qian Qian? Qin Fian, let me tell you, there's no way you're planning to do that. He was gay. If he married Xia Qian, wouldn't she be a widow for the rest of her life? How can I take revenge on her? What are you thinking? Qin Fian felt that he couldn't communicate with Xiaoya. They had talked about responsibility, but now they were talking about revenge. Jiang Zhao re-entered the room. Qin Fian immediately went over and put his arm around Jiang Zhao's shoulder. Brother, if you help me marry Xia Qian, I'll let Xia Qian give birth to a grandson of the Qin family. You don't have to bring your baby over. What do you think? What are you doing? Jiang Zhao laughed. Since when did you like Xia Qian? Qin Fian leaned his arm on Jiang Zhao and said, Xia Qian and I are engaged. Do you remember when I was kidnapped? This watch of mine was stolen by Bing Dan and given to me. After saying this, he looked at Xiaoya unhappily. Now Xiaoya doesn't want to marry Xia Qian to me. She wants to break off the engagement. I don't think that's right. Engagement? Engagement? Everyone's jaws almost dropped. Qin Fian nodded. Yeah, but she doesn't remember it now. Even if I tell her, she won't believe me. So she might as well marry me. It's fine as long as I remember it. Zhuang Yichen sneered, melodramatic. Xiaoya agreed. Melodramatic. Jiang Zhao nodded. A big pot of melodramatic. Qin Fian told Xiaoya a lot about what happened back then, but Xiaoya didn't believe him. But Jiang Zhao believed him. Zhuang Yichen also slowly raised his head and believed him more and more. Qin Fian's reputation as a homosexual had long been known. He always did things his own way. If he wanted to mess with Xia Qian, there were a million ways. Why did he have to do this? Qin Fian was a businessman. He wouldn't sacrifice his whole life for a moment of anger. At this moment, the door of the ward was pushed open. Qin Rongfang rushed in with the butler, Uncle Wu. When Qin Fian saw his grandfather, he immediately went over to support him. Grandfather, what brings you here? Qin Rongfang couldn't be bothered with him. He only looked at the girl on the bed. She was all red. Is this the person you wanted to propose to? Grandfather, you have to make a decision for me. Her family doesn't want to take responsibility. Qin Rongfang's mouth twitched. Nonsense. She's the one lying here. You're fine. Then take a look at my forehead. Qin Fian reached out to brush away the bangs on his forehead. Sure enough, there was a large bruise. The blood clot on it had already formed a scab. It was covered during the day, so it couldn't be seen. Grandfather, I have a marriage contract with her. When I was in exile, she said that she wanted me to marry her. She can't deny this, right? Xiaoya saw Qin Rongfang and her attitude was much better. Grandfather Qin, this is ridiculous. You can't believe it. Qin Fian whispered in Qin Rongfang's ear, it's up to you whether you want a great-grandchild or not. Anyway, I don't want anyone except Xia Qian. Qin Rongfang was stunned, and then he was ecstatic. The next day, when Xia Qian woke up, the first thing she saw was Qin Fian. Qin Fian pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose. He grinned at Xia Qian. When Xia Qian saw Qin Fian, she shrank back in fear. Why are you here? Xiaoya reached out and slapped Qin Feifang's face and pushed him back. Qian, Qin Fian pulled Xiaoya's hand away and grinned at Xia Qian. When Qin Fian called her Qian, Xia Qian immediately burst into tears. She hugged Xiaoya and didn't dare to let go. She sobbed and said, Sis, I was wrong. I won't mess with him anymore. Ask brother-in-law to tell him not to seek revenge on me. Qin Fian was stunned. Xia Qian, who was in Xiaoya's arms, was crying sadly and panically. His smile froze on his face and slowly collapsed. He couldn't smile anymore. Qin Fian took out a candy from his pocket, walked over, and handed it to Xia Qian. Bing Dan, don't cry. Have a candy and you'll be happy. It's my fault. Look, it's orange petal, orange flavored. Xia Qian looked at Qin Fian blankly. Who's called Bing Dan? Only a country bumpkin would have such an old-fashioned name. She looked at the candy handed over and despised it. Oh my god, how old-fashioned are you? This packaging is really lousy. One look and I can tell it's cheap. Qin Fian's heart ached. The thing that he treasured so much was now being despised by others. Had it become a habit for him to be obsessed with it? After the chili incident, Xia Qian really didn't dare to cause trouble for Qin Fian anymore. She was afraid. She had never been retaliated against like that before. She probably wouldn't forget it for the rest of her life. Qin Fian could only treat this as a last resort. The girl ignored him, and he had no experience in wooing girls. No matter how busy he would definitely go to Ninth Mansion to please his sister-in-law. He wanted to know a little about the girl's mentality. It was fine if he didn't go. After he went, the conflict escalated. Sister-in-law, tell me, what do girls like? What do they like in the morning, at noon, and at night? What should I do so that the girl won't hate you? Yi Er came back from the dance studio every day and still had to listen to Qin Fian's nagging. She was already annoyed. But Qin Fian just had to say these things. Why didn't Jiang Zhao ask her what she liked in the morning? What did she like in the afternoon? What did she like in the evening? Why didn't he ask her what he should do so that she wouldn't hate him? She was unhappy in her heart, but she still told Fian her thoughts. Fian, it's like this. Girls actually like men who are more considerate, the kind who can consider everything for her. When she's cooking, you pass her a scallion. When she's washing the dishes, you pass her a pair of gloves. She'll be happy. Although you don't necessarily do anything, it's enough to show that you're considerate of her. Awesome novel. Hongcha 866. Chapter 742. Oh, be romantic. Give her some flowers when you're free. Girls rarely dislike flowers, really. Even if it's just one flower, if she likes you, she'll like you. Qin Fian sighed. What if she hates me? Yi Er also knew about Qin Fian's situation and sympathized with him. Why don't you like someone else? Qian doesn't even remember you. Why should I like someone else? I remember her. Qin Fian ate 2 grapes and waved his hand. Forget it. I'll just attract her attention anyway. As soon as Qin Fian left, Yi Er came looking for trouble with Jiang Zhao. Why don't you give me flowers? Give me one every day. Aren't there flowers in the vase every day? Isn't it troublesome to buy more? 3 or 4 pillows flew at him. Qin Fian's pursuit of girls was still at the most primitive stage. If he couldn't get her, he would scratch the wall anxiously. Xia Qian hated him and was afraid of him. She just ignored him. Sending her flowers, treating her to a meal, and giving her gifts were all useless. At night, Qin Fian went to look for Qin Rongfang again and threw a tantrum. When are you going to marry my wife? Qin Rongfang was no longer in a hurry. When he first found out that his grandson liked women, he was so angry that he almost turned into fireworks and shot into the sky. But now that he saw his grandson anxious like an ant on a hot pan every day, Qin Rongfang felt better. He felt like he was taking revenge. You can be anxious all you want, but I'm not anxious. Qin Rongfang drew his mountains and rivers, forests and birds, dipping his brush in ink and sprinkling colors. It was his style of handling things calmly. Grandpa. You don't want to have a great-grandson, do you? Qin Rongfang replied, I don't want to. With Zhao Zhao and Yi Er's child, I don't have to worry. Zhao Zhao's child will definitely be smart and cute. Look at how he and Yi Er are so good-looking. The child will definitely be very beautiful. Qin Fian was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He stomped his feet. You don't care. Fine. Since you can't do anything about it, then let's just leave it at that. When the people at the station get together with her, I'll give up. I can't be without her. Qin Rongfang smiled faintly. You don't really like men anyway. There's no need to insist on anyone. We can change. Qin Fian had long seen through Qin Rongfang's thoughts. This old fox, after knowing that he was not gay, he ostracized him, took revenge on him, and targeted him for everything. This old fox just wanted to see him anxious. Fine, he would show him anxious. She's my fiancée that I got engaged to when I was 15 years old. Why should I change her? Fian, don't be impatient. Everything has to be calm. Without Xia Qian, won't the earth stop spinning? Wouldn't my great-grandson be settled then? Qin Rongfang used an extremely serious and educational tone to say something out of place. Qin Fian took a step back and distanced himself from the desk. He pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose and glanced at the old man who was painting. He clicked his tongue several times. How sinister. Who could be more sinister than this old fox? He actually wanted to drug him. Good. Luckily he had a nest outside. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know if a woman was stuffed into his bed in the middle of the night. Grandfather, you shouldn't have done things that would make a junior feel ashamed. The old man's eyebrows and hair were as white as snow. He raised his eyebrows as he put down his brush. Sigh. People say that the old are still young. The old are still young. Actually, in this family, I am the youngest. I should be forgiven for everything I do. Look at what you did a few years ago. Sigh. How shameless. The old man sighed, very melancholy. Qin Fian felt that the corner of his mouth was twitching non-stop. Grandpa, this is revenge. I feel that this will damage your prestige. What prestige do I need? My prestige has already been ruined by my grandson. What prestige can I still have? Are you going to help me marry Xia Qian or not? No. Go marry your own wife. What does it have to do with me? If she is kidnapped, it is because you are too bad. What does it have to do with me? Qin Fian vomited blood again. He didn't even say goodnight. He turned and walked out the door. He couldn't stay in this house anymore. There was no warmth at all. His parents didn't care about him and his sister since he was young. Now his grandfather didn't care either. He didn't even care about his marriage. He couldn't stay in this house anymore. Qin Fian held a little temper in his heart the whole way. He walked down the corridor to Fei Yu's room. Looking around, there was no one in the empty bedroom. The bathroom was also empty. After looking around, shouldn't Fei Yu be doing her homework at this time? He didn't know where his intuition came from, but Qin Fian walked towards the small awning on the top floor. Feng Sheng, it's not right. You can't write it like this. Luo, look, you have to hold the brush with strength. When you hold the brush, your palm must be empty. It feels like you can put an egg in it. Don't use the strength of your arm to pull the brush. You have to use the strength of your wrist and knuckles. Fei Yu adjusted the position of the brush in Feng Sheng's hand. She spoke softly to Feng Sheng. The light in the small canopy was white and bright, clearly illuminating the figures of the young man and woman. The boy's features were delicate and pretty, while the girl was quiet and elegant. On a round stone table, there was ink and paper. The brush was in the boy's hand. Fei Yu's hand was on the boy's, teaching him patiently. After Feng Sheng finished writing a word, he glanced at Fei Yu. His writing was getting smoother and smoother. Fei Yu clapped her hands in praise. Feng Sheng, you are amazing. You write so well. You haven't been learning for long. I've been practicing calligraphy for so many years. Feng Sheng looked at Fei Yu and saw that she had stopped. After a while, the atmosphere became awkward. Feng Sheng's face heated up. He shyly lowered his head and continued to write. Feng Sheng, you know how to write. Write down your home's address, okay? I will definitely help you find your home. A heavy blob of ink was printed on the snow-white paper. Feng Sheng's brush instantly lost control of itself and the tip of the brush split open. Fei Yu was startled. She looked at the youth's hand holding the brush. Under the light, the knuckles were pale and blue. Feng Sheng. Feng Sheng lifted the brush and dipped it in ink. On the snow-white paper, the charcoal black handwriting appeared. Under the light, it was wet. You want to chase me away? No, no. Facing the boy's silent but powerful questioning, Fei Yu hurriedly waved her hand. Today, her hair was tied back with a white string. Her beautiful face was exposed and it was hard to hide her panic. Feng Sheng, I'm just afraid that you will miss home. You will miss your father, your mother, and maybe your grandfather. Feng Sheng, I didn't chase you away. But in our house, I can't make the decision. You are a servant in our house every day and can't go to school with me. It's so hard. If you go back, your life will be easier. You should go to school. Fei Yu lowered her head. Her shoulders were slightly trembling. When she raised her face again, she looked at the boy with clear tears in her eyes. Today, I told grandfather to let you go to school, but grandfather didn't agree. Feng Sheng, you should go to school. Go to university, take the postgraduate entrance exam, and more. You are so smart. The soft tip of the brush could write with the strength of a knife. You despise me for not going to university. No. Fei Yu stomped her foot. This stomp shook off the water droplets on her eyelashes. Feng Sheng. How can you look at me like that? I don't have a home. Where do you want me to go? Fei Yu bit her lip. I won't talk about this in the future. Qin Fian clapped his hands. Fei Yu was startled, but Feng Sheng was much calmer. Qin Fian walked over and glanced at the handwriting on the stone table. He clapped even louder. He smiled and said, Feng Sheng, my sister's teacher is not bad, right? Your handwriting has improved a lot. Feng Sheng looked at Qin Fian, then at Fei Yu. He smiled and nodded. Fei Yu wanted to hide the handwriting on the table, but it was too late. Qin Fian had already finished reading. Looking at his sister's tear-stained face, the beautiful boy next to her was much calmer. He suddenly thought of someone. Shi Yunwu. He didn't seem like it. Although Feng Sheng was as beautiful as Yunwu, Yunwu gave people the impression of being harmless and pure. He was very polite. Those older than him would politely call him brother. When he smiled, it was as if spring had come. Feng Sheng's personality was much colder. He didn't speak and rarely smiled. Although he was young, his handwriting and questions revealed a sense of dominance. Why did she refuse to leave the Qin family? Qin Fian took out a handkerchief from his pocket and rubbed Fei Yu's eyes, wiping away her tears. He gently and lovingly reprimanded her. Fei Yu, don't you know you should sleep early? Grandpa even said to set the rules for you in the next few years, so that when you marry into the Pei family, you won't mess around and be hard to control. How can being someone else's daughter-in-law be as comfortable as being Miss? Fei Yu glanced at Feng Sheng, then turned to glare at Qin Fian. Brother. She was so anxious that her face turned red. Qin Fian looked over from the corner of his eye. He saw the hand holding the brush trembling slightly. Crack. The priceless ink jade brush broke in the boy's hand. Qin Fian smiled faintly. He picked up the paper on the table and looked at the handwriting on it seriously. His silly sister, did she think that she was a good teacher? She didn't know how deep her foundation was. Qin Fian thought about the things in his grandfather's study. Nowadays, very few young people learned calligraphy, but many of them learned piano. But it was inevitable that some parents would choose interest classes for their children. That was one possibility. Another possibility was that it was someone like Grandpa. He forced the children in the family to learn. They had to learn. He was still holding Feng Sheng's handwriting in his hand. Feng Sheng's control of his strokes was really good. From a weak start to a strong finish, each row of words changed little by little, progressing step by step without the slightest bit of impatience. This Feng Sheng in front of him had been in the Qin family for many days. At such a young age, he never complained. Other than not speaking, there was almost no flaw to be found. Ad. Xinwu 799. Chapter 743. But the doctor said that there was nothing wrong with his vocal cords. The reason he couldn't speak was probably due to psychological trauma. Qin Fian's eyes landed steadily on Feng Sheng. He sized him up and finally looked into his eyes. When Qin Fian's gaze landed on Feng Sheng, he didn't avoid Qin Fian's scrutinizing gaze. After a moment, he lowered his head, pretending to be afraid. But he didn't relax his grip on the ink jade pen. The weather was a little cold now, but these two people actually had the leisure to come to the top floor of Fei Yu's residence to write. Really, Qin Fian blew at the ink on the paper in his hand and said lightly, "Feng Sheng, you're still young. You should go to school. I've found a school for you." Feng Sheng raised his head and looked at Qin Fian blankly. "It's in Jiang District, an elite school. Don't worry, the Jiang family and our family are in-laws. When you go to school in Jiang District, you will be well taken care of." Fei Yu was stunned. Jiang District? She looked at Feng Sheng again. Feng Sheng's lips were trembling a little. The hand that was holding the ink jade brush was also trembling a little. Fian pulled Qin Fian's wrist. "Brother, why do we have to go to Jiangzhou to study? Isn't there a good school in High City?" "Fei Yu, this is my decision. You know that you can't make decisions in this family, so since some things have already been decided, then let it be. You don't have to object. Your task now is to study, then go to university and marry into the Pei family in a few years. You don't have to worry about anything else." Qin Fian looked at the young men and women standing in front of him with ugly expressions, then turned his gaze back to Fei Yu. He crumpled the paper in his hand into a ball and threw it into the wastebasket beside the stone table. He patted Fei Yu's head. "Xiao Yu, when you have time, read more books related to exams. Although grades are not important to us, you know that Grandpa is very vain in this aspect. He is also old, so you should work harder to make him happy. You are outstanding in everything. When you marry into the Pei family in the future, Grandpa will laugh especially heartily when he praises you. You also know that the Pei family is well matched with us, and Grandpa does not want to lose out in this aspect." Fei Yu said in a low voice, "Why do we have to be well matched? Isn't the sister-in-law you keep saying that you want to marry someone with no family background and no background?" The conversation naturally ended on a sour note. The matter ended with Fei Yu dragging Feng Sheng to bandage the wound on her hand. Qin Fian took off his spectacles and reached out to pinch the bridge of his nose. This little girl. It seemed that it would be a little difficult to send Feng Sheng out of the family. Fei Yu wasn't someone who was so insistent on everything, but for some things, once there were signs, shouldn't they be put out? If things continued like this, what if something happened? Qin Fian looked at his watch. The surface of the crack was still very clear, but what could he do? That was his sister's doing. He could only endure it. Fortunately, he could still force himself to look at the time. At this time, she should be riding her bicycle. His cheeks puffed out and he let out a breath. He straightened the collar of his jacket. Now, he liked to change into casual clothes immediately after work. Because Xia Qian had scolded him, saying that when he wore a shirt and suit, he was a beast in human clothing. That wouldn't do. She was always so dissatisfied with him, always scolding him. Her impression of him would only worsen. Yesterday, he had failed. Today, he continued to stride forward with high morale and began a new round of chasing girls. Right now, he didn't have the energy to care about his sister's matters. His sister would still need a few years to marry into the Pei family. After all, she was still young. But it was different for him. His marriage was imminent. In a few years, Xia Qian's child would definitely be able to play around. Of course, if her child was able to play around in a few years, then the child would definitely have the surname Qin. Qin Fian went downstairs happily. He walked through the corridor and went to get his car. He really couldn't think of any other methods that he hadn't used on Xia Qian. When this woman saw him, it was as if she had seen the plague. She ran away immediately. He couldn't let her run away today. The advertisement in the car slowly stopped. Then, it was the talk show. Welcome back. Let's continue the topic we talked about today. What's wrong with women these days? The atmosphere of the show was quite cheerful. The host used a more humorous way to narrate. The man said, let's continue the topic we talked about just now. Just now, we were talking about the weird things in women's brains. I don't know what women these days think. If you're handsome, she says you don't feel safe. If you're ugly, she says you'll lose face if she brings you out. The female host retorted, aren't you men the same? If you find a beautiful wife, you're always worried about whether she's having an affair. If you find an ugly one, you leave her at home and don't even dare to bring her friends home for dinner. Isn't that the case? Hey, aren't we talking about women today? Men and women depend on each other. Ha, yes, yes, yes. Let me tell you a story. I heard from a friend that he had a girlfriend. In less than a month, they broke up. In the beginning, the two of them got along quite well. They also had chemistry. Then why did they break up? He said that on the last day of their breakup, after they had a candle at dinner, he held the girl's face and looked at her with deep affection. How good, how romantic, how right the rhythm was. For a long time, the girl's eyes blinked and blinked. He was dazed. In the end, he asked, can I kiss you? The girl shyly said, annoying, why do you only think about these things? Then, he let go of the girl and sent her home. That was the last time they spent together. The female host laughed. If it were you, what would you do? What would I do? What's there to ask? Kiss her. If you kiss her, you'll become one of us. If you don't, you'll get a slap on the face at most, right? It's like trading in the stock market. There are risks, but there are also rewards. God, do you have to be so violent? This isn't violence. This is fighting. When you can't be sure whether it's abuse or abuse, just accept it with a masochistic attitude. Who knows, there might be a surprise. So, Qin Fian concluded that what happened that night was caused by listening to the unhealthy radio program. Qin Fian followed the road that Xia Qian rode on every day. He drove slowly, looking for her shadow. Xia Qian was drenched in sweat as she rode forward on her bicycle. The lights of the city spread out and she ran back. Life is about movement. So, if you want to live long, you have to exercise. Qin Fian's car followed Xia Qian. He was thinking about how to put the words he said on the radio into action. He felt that he was a smart person. It was easy for him to draw inferences about other things. Everything could slowly become clear through his brain. Following the guidance and instructions of the radio host, Qin Fian analyzed Xia Qian. Xia Qian thought that he was handsome and insecure. When he lived in Starfield Town, she always watched him and didn't allow him to talk to other girls. Every day, there would be many girls at home bringing fruits and boiled eggs to her house for him to eat. She would keep all of them. Who knew if he would eat those things? She was obviously jealous, but she never admitted it. She even said that there were boys who wanted to marry into her family who were better than him. Qin Fian felt that the first step now was to put the question, "Can I kiss you?" into practice. According to the program, he shouldn't ask a girl if he could kiss her. He should just kiss her. This logic made sense. Treat you to a meal. Will you do me the honor? What honor? I just want to have a meal with you. Come with me. Treat you to a movie. Is that okay? Is that okay? I just want to watch a movie with you. I have to go. There were also things like holding hands and kissing. I just want to hold hands and kiss without any warning. What's there to talk about? What's there to talk about? He would press her down and kiss her. After kissing her, they would become family. At most, he would get a slap on the face. Right now, he couldn't wait for her to slap him. Only then would he be able to get back at her. After making up his mind, Qin Fian did one thing, and that was to kidnap Xia Qian. Yi Er slept on the bed, tossing and turning uncomfortably. After 3 months, her belly had become much bigger. Other single babies only showed signs of pregnancy at 3 months, but she was already 5 months pregnant. After turning over, Jiang Zhao immediately woke up. Jiang Zhao turned on the table lamp and touched Yi Er's face. Yunyi. Ah Zhao, you're having an affair. Huh? I dreamed that you were having an affair. As Yi Er spoke, she started to feel sad. Pregnant women were especially sensitive. When he didn't pick up her call, she started to wonder if he had taken a fancy to another woman because she was pregnant. Jiang Zhao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. His biological clock was following Yi Er's and he went to bed very early. He hadn't even woken up from his sleep, yet she was accusing him of having an affair. This was simply adding insult to injury. Seeing that Yi Er's eyes were red, he kissed her on the forehead. Yunyi, my good wife, I love you. I'm not having an affair. I'm really not. Uh-huh. Then don't forget to tell me tomorrow. Uh-huh. I'll tell you every day. Don't think too much. It's not good for the baby. His hands slowly caressed Yi Er's belly. Her belly was bigger than other pregnant women. The doctor said that pregnant women with twins had it harder than other pregnant women. He planted a kiss on the woman's lips. Yunyi, it's been hard on you. As long as you love me, it's not hard on me. I love you. Even if I love you, it can't erase the fact that you've worked hard. Yi Er's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Uh-huh, it's been hard on me. Then you should kiss me more. Jiang Zhao squeezed Yi Er's hand and kissed it. Seeing her pout, he smiled. Just as his smile faded, the woman immediately turned hostile. You still say that you're not having an affair? I asked you to kiss me, but you won't even kiss me. Jiang Zhao smiled and kissed the woman gently on the lips. After the woman was satisfied, she reached out to turn off the lights. She said happily, uh-huh, I believe you. Ad, Hongcha 866. Chapter 744. Turning over, she pulled Jiang Zhao's hand and hugged herself. After a while, the sound of a woman's even and satisfied breathing could be heard. After Jiang Zhao kissed Yi Er, he really couldn't fall asleep, especially now that he was leaning against her back and hugging her. His hands slid into her pajamas. After she got pregnant, her chest seemed to have grown bigger, as if it had swelled up. His large hand cupped her breasts, which were very pink and full. He couldn't help but rub his nose against her neck. The thing in his hand had a kind of magic. He hadn't touched her in a long time, and he could clearly feel that part of him was already uncontrollably pushing against her butt. Yi Er twisted and moved forward. She moved, but Jiang Zhao wanted to find a place to press against her. He chased after her and slid his hand into her underwear, fiddling with it. Yi Er was sleeping soundly, but she was having a dream before she was pregnant. In her dream, she saw Jiang Zhao's fingers entering her body. 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers. She was so full that she was about to cry out. She would always feel weak because of him, and her lower body would be uncontrollably wet. Be good, wifey. 3 months have passed. Let's try it today, okay? Jiang Zhao said as he pulled down Yi Er's pants. He slowly pushed and squeezed. Ah. Yunyi, pregnancy is really a blissful and torturous thing. Jiang Zhao said in a low and hoarse voice. His breaths were heavy and trembling. He held her breasts, not daring to go too deep or too fast. He tossed and turned until he was completely drenched. Ah Zhao, I want. Xia Qian's car was thrown into the trunk by Qin Fian. He threw her into the car and threatened, Xia Qian, don't move. Otherwise, be careful. Xia Qian really didn't dare. She obediently sat in the back seat and watched Qin Fian's changes without blinking. When the traffic light turned green, she wanted to open the car door and jump out, but the central control had already locked the door. I knew you wouldn't be honest, so I locked the car door. What do you want? I don't want to do anything. Let's go eat and watch a movie. Right, I want to have a candlelight dinner with you. It's very romantic. You'll definitely like it. Xia Qian's heart twitched. Who would tell her to face a homosexual? How was she supposed to deal with such a strange change? Especially when he sat in the back, he could see him occasionally turn his head and smile. This smile was beautiful, but it was too scary because he had never smiled at him like this before. Xia Qian was increasingly suspicious of Qin Fian's purpose. Confession of Xia Qian, God, everyone says that I'm an idiot. Please give me some pointers. How can I destroy a man like Qin Fian? Why did he ask me to go instead of having dinner and watching a movie with his boyfriend? Did he get some voodoo from Miaojiang and put it in my food? I haven't cured my terminal illness yet. What should I do if he gets another voodoo? What kind of voodoo does he want to put in me? Will he control me and make me commit murder and arson? I don't eat. How can that be? You have to eat. Qin Fian deeply understood the words on the radio. No matter what you do, you don't have to ask for a woman's opinion. If you do it by force, you'll just be slapped in the face or two. A romantic candlelight dinner. No, to be exact, it was a candlelight supper. Qin Fian booked the entire second floor of the Western restaurant. He took Xia Qian's hand and went upstairs. Then he put his arm around her shoulder. The waiters all knew Qin Fian. He was a handsome man in high city. At this time, a homosexual came to the restaurant with a woman in his arms. It was big news. Without asking for Xia Qian's opinion, Qin Fian ordered the food. The waiters lit the candles according to Qin Fian's request. The candlelight on the candlestick flickered and the flames danced. Their skin started to turn orange-red. The flames in their eyes danced. Qin Fian stared at Xia Qian's eyes. Actually, it was different. Bing Dan-er's eyes were different from Xia Qian's. The light in her eyes was different. Bing Dan-er was smart, while Xia Qian was a little silly. Xiaoye said that after Xia Qian woke up, her reaction was always half a beat slower than others. Therefore, her grades were not very good. In fact, it was Zhuang Yichen who helped her get into the media college. Xia Qian did not get in at all. Because she was not smart enough and did not study well, the teachers did not pay much attention to her. She also had fewer friends. Therefore, when she had Yi Er as a friend, Xia Qian almost wanted to be friends with Yi Er. Xiaoye said that no one wanted her to remember the past. She also hoped that he would not mention it. Qin Fian was very conflicted. In the end, he chose not to talk to Xia Qian about the past. If he reminded her of her parents' death, even if she remembered him, she would still be in pain. His eyes were a little sore. Qin Fian forced himself not to be so sad. He pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose. He pushed up his glasses and poured some red wine for Xia Qian. Xia Qian was afraid of Qin Fian for a while. After a while, she would be stupid again. How could she drink the food when she knew it was poisoned? She would not fall for his trick. Qin Fian, let me tell you, don't forget. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten that you were raped by me? I'm very fierce. I'm very powerful. When Qin Fian heard Xia Qian's words, he remembered his favorite saying in the past. We love very rich. Not many families in Starfield Town are as rich as us. He could not help but smile. He raised his glass and took a sip. Yes, I remember. I won't forget. You were the only one who raped me before. Then how dare you provoke me? I didn't provoke you. I want you to marry me. Xia Qian was speechless. Could this man not say anything else? Did he think that she would be interested in him just because he was good-looking, even if he was gay? Was she that kind of person? How could she be that kind of person? She was just good-looking and had a good figure. She could play with that place. Wow! It was huge. Forget it. She did not want to think about it anymore. Her nose was burning. She felt that she was close to death again. She said contemptuously, "Were you dumped by your boyfriend?" Qin Fian cut the steak seriously. He cut it into small cubes. After cutting a whole piece, he stood up and placed the portion in front of Xia Qian in front of him. He sat down in front of Xia Qian and continued cutting. "I don't have a boyfriend." Xia Qian shook her head in disbelief. "Don't be like this. Although I'm also a media person, I'm not a reporter. I won't expose you." Qin Fian used to think that it was good to tell others that he was gay. The women in the company wouldn't crawl into his arms, and the daughters of rich families wouldn't hug his neck and kiss him hard at the cocktail party. He had promised Bing Dan that he would never kiss a woman other than his wife. This was fate. His lips had only kissed Xia Qian, so Xia Qian had to be his wife. But now it was troublesome. No one believed that he really wanted to pursue her. She didn't remember the past. It didn't matter if she didn't remember. He had to marry her. The two of them chatted as they ate. In the end, Qin Fian walked up to Xia Qian, pulled her up, and said on the radio with a loving look. Qin Fian thought that his gaze must be affectionate because his Bing Dan had grown up. He reached out and pinched Xia Qian's chin, pulling her in front of him. Xia Qian was shocked, especially by the way Qin Fian looked at her. Why was it so strange? Did he think that she was his boyfriend? Did he really get dumped by his boyfriend? Qin Fian saw that Xia Qian couldn't get into the situation at all and was a little annoyed. He pinched her chin and said domineeringly, "Xia Qian, close your eyes. I'm going to kiss you." Qin Fian felt that this was the right rhythm. He didn't need to ask if she was willing. Just say that he wanted to kiss her. As they kissed, she would become one of them. When Xia Qian's lips were sealed by Qin Fian, she was dumbfounded. She pushed Qin Fian away and said disdainfully, "Why are your kissing skills so bad?" It was like being bitten by a dog. She must have never read a romance novel, right? Qin Fian didn't blush and his heart didn't skip a beat. "If you're good at kissing, then kiss me." At this moment, Qin Fian's IQ had dropped. He actually gave such an order. It was really meaningless. Xia Qian naturally ignored him. It was okay if she ignored him. Qin Fian was thick-skinned now. If she didn't kiss him, he could still kiss her. Anyway, she didn't slap him. Maybe she would become one of them soon. Xia Qian trained every day. However, compared to Qin Fian who also trained every day, her strength was not just a little bit weaker. There wasn't even a waiter in the Western restaurant on the second floor. According to Qin Fian's request, all the lights were turned off. There was only a candlestick on their table. There were 3 candles on the candlestick. The candles burned with tears, and the rhythm of the flames was unclear. The rhythm was unclear, and the light was unclear. Xia Qian was pressed down on the sofa by Qin Fian. "Qin Fian. How dare you press down on me? Kiss you, press down on you, marry you." After the announcement, they continued to kiss. Men should have an innate ability to explore women. For example, how to quickly change from inexperience to familiarity. Xia Qian thought that Qin Fian was biting her like a dog at the beginning. But at this time, the man already knew how to play with his tongue. Qin Fian himself was surprised to find that kissing could be changed. He actually put his tongue into her mouth, stirred it, and sucked it for a moment. This process, slowly and deeply, became more and more interesting. It was really amazing. Qin Fian was touched by his own intelligence. So, he explored the kissing for a long time. During this process, Xia Qian tried to bite him several times, but he escaped. Xia Qian was very disobedient. She was a person who had read countless novels. How could she be pressed down on by someone else? But this man didn't even give her a chance to speak. Qin Fian's intelligence had not only increased in kissing, but also in other aspects, such as touching. This was his nature. After a man hugged a woman and kissed her, he wanted to touch her everywhere. The first place he wanted to touch would be her waist or butt. The most he wanted to touch would be her chest. Welfare, Songshu 566. Chapter 745. Xia Qian exclaimed, "You touched my chest." Qin Fian answered affirmatively, "Yes, of course." There were only the two of them on the second floor. Even if the people downstairs heard the screams, they wouldn't go upstairs. Who didn't know about the ambiguous relationship between the people at the candlelight dinner? It was very normal for ambiguous relationships to happen. Qin Fian had never found anything cute about Xia Qian. But ever since he found out that she was his fiancée, his attitude towards her changed completely. Although Xia Qian was a little silly, he felt that there was no need for women to be too smart. Although she would make mistakes sometimes, she was not evil. She would not wholeheartedly harm others or mess with him. That was because they had a grudge. If she did not get back at him even though they had a grudge, she would be too stupid. So, this was the right thing to do. In the past, he had thought that Xia Qian was not pretty. Anyway, none of the women he had seen were pretty. They all looked the same and could not compare to Bing Dan. But now, looking at Xia Qian, he felt that she was not bad. Her double eyelids after plastic surgery looked better than Bing Dan, single eyelids. Bing Dan, eyes were big, so her double eyelids were just right. Her chest was really a problem. In the past, it looked quite small, but now it felt quite right in his hands. When he pinched it, it was very springy. As he pinched it, he realized that his breathing was not quite right. Qin Fian. You pervert, I'm going to sue you. Xia Qian was so anxious that her face was red and her heart was racing. Qin Fian was being a pervert. He did it on purpose. A homosexual actually touched her chest. Her chest. Not only did he see it, but he also touched it. Qin Fian held Xia Qian tightly. It was winter now, and the air conditioner was on upstairs. She took off her jacket. She was neither fat nor thin. After struggling, there were small beads of sweat on the tip of her nose. She really looked like Bing Dan. Bing Dan, loved to sweat on the tip of her nose. After understanding the essence of kissing, he stuck out his tongue and licked her lips gently. His lips curved into a smile. What's the point of suing me? If you have the ability, let me marry you. That's the challenge. Why are you marrying me? Qin Fian held Xia Qian's hand. It was as if he was living in the dark, looking at the wooden planks. Sunlight and sound seeped through the cracks. He was talking to the girl outside the wooden planks. He pinched her hand, placed it on his left cheek, and rubbed it. His voice suddenly became very slow. Qian, marry me. I don't want much. You can give me 3 cows as dowry and $1. It doesn't matter if it's fake, as long as it looks expensive. After I marry you, I promise I won't kiss other girls like in the movies. I promise I won't divorce my wife like Father Niu on the slope. Xia Qian was in a daze. She stared at Qin Fian with widened eyes. His words were getting slower and slower, and he was getting choked up. But why was he telling her all this? Qin Fian, are you crazy? Who raises cows? Only someone like you would wear a fake watch, right? Who was Father Niu on the slope? Do you have a fever? Did you become confused after being dumped by your boyfriend? Qin Fian thought about it. He might as well steal Xia Qian's household register and get married to her at the Civil Affairs Bureau. What was there to chase after? It was too troublesome to chase after her. They had been kissing for so long, and she wasn't even one of them, Jiang Shao had advised him before, Fian, you can't treat gratitude as feelings. Maybe when you were 15 years old, you were very grateful to Bing Dan for rescuing you from the cellar. You stayed at Bing Dan's house every day and received her family's kindness. Our family values relationships very much, so you wanted to know how to repay them. However, you can't use your marriage as an act of gratitude. You can live with her for a lifetime. If you don't like her, everyone will suffer in the future. Now that she doesn't remember you, you can find a woman you like and live with her. He had thought about it carefully. What did it feel like to like someone? Did he treat gratitude as feelings? He clearly remembered the moment when he sat on the long-distance bus and turned around. He saw Bing Dan, wiping her tears as she looked at the bus he was sitting in. Bing Dan had never cried in front of him before, so when she saw him, she smiled at him and waved at him. He also cried at that time. After that, every year when he went to Starfield Town and looked at the empty courtyard, he could see Bing Dan running around happily. He always wanted to cry, afraid that he would never see that person again. If he was grateful, he should only remember the time in the cellar and not always go to the places she brought him to play. At the age of 15, no matter which era a child would have their first awakening of love, right? But once his love awakened, he kept it open and never thanked her. He remembered answering Jiang Zhao at that time, "Brother, I don't think women are good-looking. None of them are as good-looking as Bing Dan, or as good-looking as Xia Qian. How can I like her? I think Xia Qian is good-looking now. In the past, she looked good with single eyelids. Now that she has double eyelids, she's not bad either." Jiang Zhao was speechless. "You're marrying her because you promised to marry her. Shouldn't I marry her if I promised to marry her? Isn't that going back on my word? But she doesn't want to marry you. But I want to marry her. She has to marry me even if she doesn't want to. Brother, you said that I don't like her. Then tell me, what does it feel like to like someone?" Jiang Zhao looked into the distance and said with a smile, "You often think about her and think that she has a lot of good points. In the end, as you think about it, her flaws become her strengths. Even if she's not perfect, she's very pleasing to the eye. You don't think of her burdens as burdens. You feel that it's your duty to help her solve those burdens and make her feel more relaxed. You feel very satisfied to be able to see her lying by your side every day. If you give birth to a pair of children, that's the happiest thing." Qin Fei rolled his eyes at Jiang Zhao. "Then I definitely like her. Needless to say, she's pleasing to the eye now. I used to think that she was stupid, but now I think that she's cute. I want her to give birth to children for me in the future. How can one pair be enough? Give birth to 10 children." Jiang Zhao snorted. "Do you think she's a pig?" "I'm exaggerating. Didn't you learn Chinese well in primary school? I'm using exaggerated words to express my love for her. What do you know?" Qin Fian came back to his senses. Xia Qian was still trying to break free from his control. He looked at her seriously. "Xia Qian, think about it. I really like you. I like you, so I want to marry you. But I don't like you. Feelings can be cultivated. The soil has already become saline alkali soil. How can you cultivate it? What kind of thing can he cultivate? Then let's improve the soil. But, don't say, but, Qian Qian. Let me kiss you again." Qin Fian had never hugged and kissed a woman like this before. The feelings in his heart came out again. His dependence on Xia Qian grew with each passing second. This kind of feeling was like pouring oil on a small flame. With a bang, the flame was pulled up high. When his mouth was dry, he pulled Xia Qian's clothes. Xia Qian glared at Qin Fian fiercely. "Don't you dare touch me again. Don't you dare touch me again." As she spoke, she stuttered. In the end, she said, "If you touch me again, I'll sleep with you." As soon as she said it, Xia Qian regretted it. Qin Fian was not the Qin Fian from before. Her words would not scare him at all. Qin Fian was speechless. Yes, sleep with her. If he slept with her, she would become one of his people. He suddenly realized that Xia Qian needed to be provoked. She hated him, so she wanted to go against him. In the past, he hated being touched by women, so she wanted to touch him. Qin Fian propped himself up and quickly left Xia Qian's body. He walked back to his seat and sat down. He straightened his thin pink and purple sweater, picked up the wine glass, and took a sip. He immediately said contemptuously, "You want to sleep with me?" "Humph. Just by you. Can you afford to sleep with me?" "What?" Xia Qian was angry. "Just by me. Sigh, I realized that I won't torture your body gently anymore. I'll use this method to scare you. Look at how scared you have been recently. Are you scared out of your wits? Although you used to scare me, compared to how I'm scaring you now, what you did to me in the past was child's play." "Ha!" Qin Fian laughed proudly. It was the kind of arrogance that came after a scheme had succeeded. How could Xia Qian take this kind of provocation? She had been played by this man from the beginning. He had used this kind of method to scare her. What did he mean? Had she lost? Well, this homosexual was indeed insidious. Qin Fian observed Xia Qian's eyes. They kept rolling, and he didn't know what she was thinking. However, she didn't seem to be afraid of him now. He had a feeling that he wanted to go all out with her. That was good. She was not afraid of him. "Xia Qian, I'm warning you. I can only play with you like this. But between us, I'm definitely the one playing with you. When I kissed you just now, you must have thought that I would sleep with you, right? Ha, how could that be? You're not even as good-looking as my boyfriend. God, forget it. I can't bear to hurt you." Qin Fian finished this mouthful of wine and unilaterally ended this candlelight supper. Xia Qian recalled that during this period, she had been avoiding Qin Fian's pursuit like a cat. She was scared to death, but this guy was having fun. He said that he would not torture her body gently anymore and use this kind of method to scare her. This despicable guy. When Qin Fian came down the stairs, he clearly heard Xia Qian's roar. "Qin Fian. I won't let you off." The man leisurely walked away, humming a song, and took Xia Qian's bicycle with him. Xia Qian's belongings were robbed. She beat her chest and stomped her feet in the parking lot. She swore that she would destroy Qin Fian, that homosexual. Qin Fian returned to his residence and called Jiang Zhao. Jiang Zhao had just finished showering and came out of the bathroom. After getting into bed, he didn't dare to hug Yi anymore, fearing that he would want to do it again. His work phone vibrated on the table, making a woo-woo sound. He quickly got out of bed and went to the opposite room with the phone. The number on the phone was Qin Fian. "What are you doing? Calling my work number in the middle of the night." Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 746. Your private number is turned off. What else can I call other than your work number? You know that my phone is turned off, yet you're still calling. Is there something that can't be said tomorrow? No. Just spit it out. Qin Fian hesitated for a moment and finally decided to ask his senior. "Brother, let me ask you. How can a girl take the initiative to sleep with you? You want Xia Qian to sleep with you? Fian, is there something wrong with your brain? Aren't you being too hasty? Tell me about it." Qin Fian felt that asking Jiang Zhao about this was more reliable than asking Zhuang Yichen. After all, Jiang Zhao was his blood-related brother, so the element of embarrassment was much less. Jiang Zhao suddenly remembered that there was a time when he had a conflict with Yi Er. He drugged Yi Er, and Yi Er later, of course, he couldn't tell Qin Fian the truth. He could only pretend to be deep in thought before discussing. "Why don't you seduce her? You look good anyway." "This won't work," Jiang Zhao said hypocritically. "Then why don't you drug her and make her pounce on you?" "But this method might not be effective, and it's a little immoral, right?" Brother. I think it's too immoral. The way she's treating me now is the most immoral. Qin Fian's goal was to make Xia Qian one of his own. How could it be immoral? After Jiang Zhao hung up the phone, he thought about how immoral he was to Xia Qiankai for coming up with such an idea. Xia Qian suddenly bumped into a telephone pole. After a nosebleed, she collapsed again. Leukemia. Sometimes, it wasn't her imagination that ran wild. Her body had always been weak. Her classmates who stayed in the dormitory every day and didn't exercise had better resistance than her. So when there was something wrong with her body, she would start to think about it. She thought about how Qin Fian actually looked down on her. What did he mean by, you? Can you afford to sleep with me? It wasn't Shang Dynasty. Who did Qin Fian think he was? Why couldn't she sleep with him? Looking up at the street lamp, he reached into his pocket and took out a small packet of tissue paper. He took out a piece and used it to wipe the blood from his nose before plugging his nostrils. Xia Qian immediately set a goal for herself, and that was to sleep with someone she couldn't afford to sleep with before she died. Winter was very warm in the minds of the busy young people. It was getting warmer and warmer day by day. Qin Rongfang listened to the servant's report about how his grandson was chasing after a lady every day, and he gloated. He could finally breathe a sigh of relief. This grandson of his had tortured him for so many years, and he had finally met his nemesis who could avenge him. How delightful. Looking at the wedding invitation from the Pei family on the table, Qin Fian thought that next year, he would be able to send his grandson red and gold wedding invitation everywhere. He was so happy that flowers were blooming everywhere. He called his family members separately and finally called Qin Fian. Fian, arrange work properly. Our family is going to G City. The Pei family is holding a wedding this time, so we have to go there early. Okay, I got it. Will you bring Fei Yu there? Of course she has to go. It's something that our adults have decided, so it's good for her to go take a look. Then I'll go pick her up from school and help her apply for leave. Okay. Qin Fian hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, the problem he was thinking about was not how to arrange the time, but that they were going to G City, and Xia Qian was still not one of them. And what made Qin Fian even more worried was that Fei Yu was still fine after school in the afternoon, but when it was time to sleep at night, she began to hold her stomach and scream. She was in so much pain that her whole body was sweating, and her clothes were soaked through. Qin Rongfang was so anxious that he scolded everyone he saw. Fei Yu's face was covered in sweat as if she had been splashed with water. Her face was covered with hair. She curled up into a ball, holding her stomach, and her head had already touched her bent knees. Ah! It hurts. Xiao Yu, tell your brother, what did you eat today? The moment Qin Fian touched Fei Yu, she rolled to the other side of the bed. It hurts, it hurts. Fei Yu screamed, crying as she screamed. The family doctor came over. Chinese medicine doctors wanted to take her pulse, Western medicine doctors wanted to test her blood, but none of them could get close to her. Fei Yu was in so much pain that she kept twitching. Qin Fian wanted to force Fei Yu down, but at this moment, a youth rushed out from the crowd and climbed onto Fei Yu's bed. The housekeeper was about to scold him. Feng Sheng had already grabbed Fei Yu's hand and hugged her head. He tilted his head and pressed Fei Yu's forehead against his face. Feng Sheng was still panting heavily, as if he had run very quickly. He looked very nervous. Fei Yu sobbed and reached out to grab Feng Sheng's arm. She used a lot of strength, but she did not roll away. She just closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling violently. She cried and said, Feng Sheng, it hurts, it hurts. Feng Sheng did not say anything. He just held Fei Yu's back and slowly touched her face. He pressed his cheek against her forehead and rubbed it gently, comforting Fei Yu's emotions. Feng Sheng looked up at the doctor and glanced at them, asking them to come over. Qin Fian did not know why, but he actually felt relieved. He looked at Qin Rongfang and walked over. Then he held Qin Rongfang's arm and pulled him away. Late at night, in the study, Qin Fian looked at the medical report seriously. Grandfather, I don't want you to force Xiao Yu's matter. Qin Rongfang had not recovered yet. He sat on the rocking chair and lay down. He refused to open his eyes, because once he opened them, they would be filled with heartache. She's still young. She doesn't know anything. Doesn't know anything? Grandfather, Fei Yu knows everything. She took poison to resist and doesn't want to go to Ji City with you. Qin Fian looked at his grandfather. His eyebrows and hair were all white. Grandfather had his own pride. Fei Yu's marriage had been forced. If he was not gay, grandfather probably would not have wanted to use Fei Yu for the marriage. But now that both the Pei and Qin families had agreed, what else could he do? Would the Qin family propose to break off the marriage? Even if the Pei family wanted to save face, they would not agree. But Fei Yu was so young. This time she said she was going to Ji City to see her future in-laws. She actually took poison and wanted to use the excuse that she was not feeling well to achieve her purpose of not going to Ji City. If they pushed too far, what would happen in the future? Qin Rongfang closed his eyes. After what happened tonight, his heart was in pain. His precious granddaughter actually took poison to resist him. If it was not because of Feng Sheng, how could they end up like this? Grandpa was like an executioner, and his granddaughter was like a poor girl. How could the Qin family end up like this? His pair of withered old hands were trembling on the armrest of the chair. Fei Yan, send Feng Sheng away. Send him to Jiangzhou to go to school. After a long time, he will be fine. Let Xiao Yu know that Feng Sheng has a good place to stay. She will not miss him. After a long time, she will forget how Feng Sheng grew up. I didn't know that leaving him at home would lead to such a result. Qin Fian had always felt that the Qin family could not be compared to other families. Now that he thought about it, they were all about the same. Between families, there was no one who did not want a strong alliance. It was all because of his selfishness and stubbornness all these years that Fei Yu was pushed into the marriage situation. Grandfather blamed him, but he never used a scolding tone to scold him. Qin Fian's heart was heavy. He came out of the study and went to Fei Yu's room. He stood at the door and looked at his sister lying there quietly with her eyes closed. One hand was on a drip and the other hand was tightly holding Feng Sheng's hand. Feng Sheng held a towel in his hand and carefully wiped Fei Yu's sweat. Qin Fian's heart ached. Fei Yu was only 17 years old. Would everything be fine after sending Feng Sheng away? This night for the Qin family was destined to not be peaceful. The doctor kept his mouth shut and did not dare to say anything. No one dared to say that Fei Yu had taken poison and tortured herself in front of Qin Rongfang. Just as Qin Fian thought, Qin Rongfang was hit hard. He had always felt that Fei Yu was obedient and sensible. Sometimes, he even felt that he loved this granddaughter more because Fei Yu always listened to him. Whatever he said, it was what it was. And Qin Fian had always been rebellious and difficult to control. He always did not let him get what he wanted. So sometimes, Fei Yu could almost satisfy all of Qin Rongfang's vanity as the head of the family. To outsiders, he always claimed that he was a citizen and would not interfere with his children's affairs. But his son and daughter-in-law had gone abroad. It was not that he did not miss them. It was not that he did not feel sad when his daughter and son-in-law divorced. His grandchildren were all outstanding, but after all, their surnames were not Qin. When Jiang Zhao was young, he had wanted to change his surname many times, but he was always stopped by the elders of the Jiang family. It was not that he did not feel regret. He had raised his grandchildren single-handedly. What was the use of his grandson's surname? He was gay and did not want to be controlled. Only Fei Yu had been sensible since she was young. She listened to him. He had even thought of finding a man for Fei Yu. That way, his granddaughter would live under his nose for the rest of her life. He would be satisfied in this life and would not have any other thoughts. But a man who was willing to marry into the family would always feel that something was missing. How could he be worthy of his granddaughter? Fei Yu was so good. He had to find someone from a family of equal status before he would be satisfied, relieved, and feel that they were compatible. He had found a good man for his beloved granddaughter, but now he was forcing his granddaughter to take poison to resist him. Qin Rongfang fell into the rocking chair, unable to get up. 2 streams of tears flowed out of his tightly shut eyes. Qin Rongfang raised his withered arm and placed it over his eyes. His chest rose and fell as he choked out, "Fei Yu, you really hurt Grandpa's heart." Qin Fian went to the 9th mansion. Jiang Zhao let Yi Er sleep alone first and took Qin Fian to the study. He brewed coffee for Qin Fian. Jiang Zhao brewed a cup of tea for himself. The two of them sat around the tea table, facing each other. After Qin Fian finished telling him what had happened that night, the cup in Jiang Zhao's hand slipped and landed on the tea table, splashing water all over him. He asked solemnly, "Why did you only tell me about such a big thing now?" The situation at the time was too unexpected. "I didn't have time to rush it. I was already too busy looking for doctors. How could I have time to inform anyone?" Later, I had a deep talk with Grandpa. He said that it was so late and told me not to disturb you because sister-in-law was pregnant. Qin Fian felt that other than the bitterness of the coffee, there was no other taste. It was bitter in the past, but he always felt that it was fragrant. Jiang Zhao asked again, "How is Fei Yu's condition now?" Qin Fian's brows twitched. He frowned and complained, "Her stomach was pumped and she's out of danger. She just doesn't want to go to City G. If she doesn't want to go, then so be it. She caused such a big thing." Awesome Novel, Hengcha 866. Chapter 747. Jiang Zhao was also angry. "Don't you know Fei Yu's personality? Can she tell you?" Grandpa said to send Feng Xing away. Actually, I had long realized that this situation was not right. At that time, I told Grandpa to send Feng Xing away to Jiangzhou. If Fei Yu was worried, I would say that I found a good school for him, so that Fei Yu would not be worried. But it has already developed to this point. Do you think sending him away now will be of any use? Grandpa said that as time passes, it will fade away. I think this is a bomb. Jiang Zhao sucked in a breath of cold air. He had never thought that Fei Yu would take poison. He was also very worried. You also know that it is a bomb. You were engaged to her when you were 15. Haven't you forgotten about it now? Fei Yu will be difficult to deal with. Then what do we do now? I don't even have the mood to chase my wife anymore. Fei Yu has never been such a bastard in her life. Qin Fian gritted his teeth and held the coffee cup. He could not smell the coffee at all. He felt that his nose was filled with the smell of medicine. When the doctor said that Fei Yu had taken poison, he was stunned. Seeing those tubes inserted into her mouth and seeing her tied up for gastric lavage, he wanted to rush up and slap her. Why couldn't they talk things out? Why did it have to be like this? She did not think that if something happened to her, what would happen to Grandpa? What would happen to him? He only had this one sister. Grandpa was already so old. Qin Fian could only scold Qin Fei Yu again and again. You bastard. It's not that she's a bastard. It's that she finally has flesh and blood, Fei Yu. Brother, what do you think we should do? Grandpa asked our family to go to G City. But with Fei Yu like this, we definitely can't go. If Fei Yu doesn't go, I don't want to go either. I have to stay at home and watch over her. How do we explain to the Pei family? Jiang Zhao thought for a moment. Why don't we bring Fei Yu to my place and separate her from Feng Sheng? Your sister-in-law's belly is so big now. I don't want her to go to G City. If she doesn't go, I won't go. We can take care of Fei Yu. In this way, you and Grandpa will be relieved, right? If Fei Yu could come and live here, with her brother and sister-in-law taking care of her, Qin Fian would naturally be relieved. Are you and sister-in-law really not going? Jiang Zhao nodded. I'm not going. She's prone to chest tightness now. Last night, she said that she wanted to eat egg custard, so she went to the kitchen to make egg custard. In the end, her chest tightened and she couldn't breathe properly. She almost fainted in the kitchen. At that time, I was so scared that my legs went weak. So from today onwards, I've hired Auntie to work full-time, and she lives downstairs. Now that she's going on a long trip, I'm afraid that something will happen to her on the plane. So be it. She's going to give birth in a few months. I'm afraid of the slightest disturbance now. I just want to give birth to the child safely. I don't care about other things. Grandfather told me to get one of the old maids in the house to come over and take care of sister-in-law, but you refused. There's no need for that. I'm used to serving Grandpa's taste. I've changed it so many times and I still can't get used to it. It's easier for us. Your sister-in-law's mouth isn't very picky, so it's easier to get her. Alright, then I'll go back and tell Grandfather to send Feiyu over. Arrange for the old maids to come over too. Then go back early. Grandpa sleeps early. Don't disturb his rest. Qin Fian couldn't drink the coffee. He placed the cup on the tea table and stood up. He smiled bitterly. Sigh, it's fine as long as he can sleep tonight. What's the point of talking about whether he sleeps early or not? Qin Fian drove out of the 9th mansion. He was greeted by a familiar Geely second-hand car. It was so shabby. It looked like he had to buy a car for his wife. It didn't look good, but at least it had to be safer. Driving such a car, with her slow reaction speed, was really worrying. Actually, he should get her a driver. With her brain, she wasn't suited to driving. Xia Qian's car drove into the 9th mansion. Qin Fian originally wanted to go back to the Qin residence, but at this time, he hung up the phone and went back. He told Qin Rongfang about Jiang Zhao's intentions. After the two of them reached a consensus, they hung up the phone. It wasn't that he wasn't worried about his family. It was just that he didn't get to see Xia Qian often enough. He couldn't let go of this opportunity to get close to her. Qin Fian turned the car around and followed Xia Qian's car. He didn't know if she was going to Zhuang Yichen's house or his sister-in-law's house. Xia Qian parked the car and unbuckled her seatbelt. She picked up a basket from the passenger's seat cushion. It was filled with a whole basket of eggs. She opened the door and got out of the car. Jiang Zhao was just about to go to bed when the doorbell rang again. Worried that something had happened to the Qin family, he quickly went to open the door. He saw Xia Qian standing outside with a smile through the peephole. He opened the door. Before Jiang Zhao could say anything, Xia Qian said, "Jiang Zhao, is Yi Er asleep?" "Oh, Qian, come in and have a seat." Yi Er just fell asleep. Xia Qian waved her hand. No, I'm just here to deliver some eggs. My colleagues from the station went to a farmhouse in the suburbs last time. I saw that there were a lot of chickens there. The boss was feeding them grain. So I discussed with the boss to get her chickens to lay some eggs and sell them to me. No matter how expensive the eggs in High City are, they are all forage chickens. You can give these eggs to Yi Er. Xia Qian handed the basket over. Jiang Zhao quickly took the basket. Qian, you're so thoughtful. Come in and have a seat. I'll get you a glass of water. Xia Qian scratched her head. She was a little embarrassed. I can't drink water. But, my colleagues said that I'm gullible. The eggs they gave me were probably foreign eggs bought from the market. I cracked a few eggs and found that they were all yellow, but I can't be sure if all of them are like that. I can only rely on luck. Jiang Zhao was very touched. Qian, thank you so much. What are you thanking me for? What's my relationship with Yi Er? At this moment, the elevator door dinged again. Qin Fian walked over and put his arm around Xia Qian's shoulder. Oh, loser. What are you doing here? How could Xia Qian listen to Qin Fian talk about her like that? She slapped Qin Fian's hand away. You're the loser. Jiang Zhao couldn't figure out what Qin Fian was up to, but he was also afraid that he would hinder his younger brother's plan to woo his wife. So, he didn't say anything and just carried the eggs into the house. Qin Fian saw this and put his arm around Xia Qian's shoulder again. "Loser, since we've bumped into each other, why don't we go in and have a cup of tea?" He paused and added, "You're not afraid of losing to me again, are you? I knew that you're not as strong as me." "Ha, how could I dare say that you're not a loser? Let's drink then." Who's afraid of who? As soon as they entered the house, they didn't drink any tea. Qin Fian instigated Jiang Zhao to take out the wine in the house and compete with Xia Qian in drinking. Jiang Zhao knew that Xia Qian had been tricked, but he didn't say anything. Although Xia Qian was his wife's best friend, Qin Fian was his younger brother. It was the truth to help one's family over reason. Jiang Zhao knew that it was easy to get drunk when mixed with wine. So, he took out red, white, and yellow wine. He was a little afraid that the noise downstairs would disturb Yi Er, so he deliberately asked them to be quiet. He then ran upstairs to take a look. His wife was sleeping like a pig. When Jiang Zhao came downstairs, Xia Qian was waiting for him. The three of them were competing in drinking. It was not easy for Xia Qian to discover Qin Fian's scheme. So, the drinking competition ended up with two men shamelessly forcing a woman to drink. Qin Fian only drank red wine, and he liked to drink it. Jiang Zhao had no problem drinking white wine. In his social circle, many people drank white wine. His tolerance for white wine was better than red wine. But this way, when Xia Qian drank with Jiang Zhao, she had to drink white wine. When she drank with Qin Fian, she had to drink red wine. The wine bottles were emptied one by one. Xia Qian was so drunk that she didn't wake up. Jiang Zhao bowed to Xia Qian's corpse. "Xia Qian, don't blame me. I didn't mean it." Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian's corpse and smiled. "Brother, you did mean it." Jiang Zhao rolled his eyes at Qin Fian. "You're not doing your job." After that, he turned to go upstairs. "I'm going upstairs to sleep. No one came today." He went upstairs and looked at Xia Qian. When Qin Fian bent down to pick up Xia Qian, Jiang Zhao shook his head helplessly and said sympathetically, Qian, I'm sorry for the basket of eggs you gave Yi Er. I feel guilty." Then, he put away his sad expression and went upstairs as if nothing had happened. When he returned to his room, he quickly brushed his teeth and rinsed his mouth. He was afraid that his wife would dislike him for smelling too much alcohol. After throwing the drunk Xia Qian into the car, Qin Fian was exhausted. Qin Fian drove very slowly. He was afraid that the woman in the back seat would be thrown out. Qin Fian hummed a tune as he drove. The most comfortable life was to take his wife to a hotel. That's right, he was going to get a room. But Qin Fian wasn't a jerk. He wouldn't force a woman. He just wanted to create the illusion that they had slept together. On the large bed with white sheets, Qin Fian put Xia Qian on the bed and took off her clothes one by one. When she was only left with her underwear, Qin Fian, who originally didn't think he was a jerk, couldn't stay calm. Why did he look at Xia Qian now? Why did she look so pleasing to the eye? He lowered his head to look at her eyelids. They had really been done. The line was not like a normal double eyelid. It wasn't a crease mark, but a scar. This was the legendary plastic surgery. Plastic surgery was pretty good. When she opened her eyes, they were big. Her nose was also pretty good. Although it wasn't very tall, it was as tall as Xiaoya's nose. It looked a little too strong. He didn't like seductive women like that. Someone like Xia Qian was better. Soft and tender. Sigh, she looked pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at her. Why did her breasts have to be so big? They were from steel strike. She wasn't a cow. Sigh, she looked pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at her. She was so pleasing to the eye that his eyes were spitting fire. He felt a little flustered and wanted to kiss her. In the end, Xia Qian was completely naked. Qin Fian started to take off his own clothes again. After he was done, he pulled the blanket over and hugged her. He laughed mischievously in his heart. Xia Qian, tomorrow morning, you can't deny it even if you want to. Anyway, I'll insist that we slept together. Let's see what you can do. He was still laughing mischievously in his heart. The next second, he realized that something was wrong. He realized that he really wanted to poke her. Add. Songshu 566. Chapter 748. It was very swollen down there. When he thought about how her hands had played with his body until it was as swollen as it was now, he blushed and buried his head in her chest. It was only when he buried his head that he realized that the thing in her chest was not buried casually. The moment he buried it, he felt even more uncomfortable. The naked man and woman hugged each other. Time passed like ants crawling on the ground. Qin Fian thought, God, when will the sun rise? The woman in his arms started to get annoyed. She started to push and kick up a fuss. Qin Fian was hit by Xia Qian a few times. When she opened her eyes and saw Qin Fian, she froze for a moment and burped. She looked like she couldn't open her eyes and was trying her best to do so. Are you drunk? Loser. Qin Fian was shocked and said again, You're the loser. Why? Are you afraid that I'll kiss you? Xia Qian narrowed her eyes. She was only paying attention to the position of Qin Fian's eyes. She didn't even see the lust in his eyes. Afraid? I, Xia Qian, don't know how to spell the word afraid. With that, she grabbed Qin Fian's head and kissed him. Qin Fian saw the situation and deliberately resisted. Xia Qian, you boorish woman. Stay away from me. I won't. Xia Qian was so drunk that she flipped over and pinned Qin Fian down. The more Qin Fian turned his head to avoid Xia Qian's lips, the more Xia Qian wanted to kiss him. The louder Qin Fian made a fuss, the more excited Xia Qian was. She thought that he was a loser and slapped Qin Fian's face. Stop shouting. If you shout again, I'll sleep with you. Qin Fian's face was red and his heart was beating fast. His lower body was like a piece of iron that had just been poured out of a furnace. It was hard and hot. With red eyes, he said weakly, How dare you? If you dare to touch me, I'll kill you. But later, Qin Fian was disappointed to find that Xia Qian only wanted to scare him. Even if she was drunk, it was the same. She was just scaring him. So, he hugged her waist and turned around. Using his self-taught skills, he kissed her lips, rubbed her chest, and spread her legs. While doing something worse than a beast, he used an extremely aggrieved voice to berate Xia Qian for being a hooligan and trying to molest him. Xia Qian was very dizzy. She only knew that she had to fight with Qin Fian. She thought that she had to beat him up. Hearing him dodge, complain and complain, she felt very comfortable in her heart. Listen, 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 he is fighting again. Xia Qian, how? Do you believe that I'll tear you apart? Suddenly, Xia Qian's consciousness came back from Qin Fian's voice. She felt as if a knife had pierced into her lower body. The pain came from her lower body, as if a powerful force was spreading and rushing to her throat. Ah! Qin Fian was also stunned. He didn't dare to move. He was so nervous that his whole body was red and sweating. But at this time, his instincts told him that he couldn't go out. He pressed his body down. He couldn't let Xia Qian move. He couldn't let her retreat. Since it was already like this, he had to make her his. Qin Fian. What did you do to me? It hurts. Qin Fian didn't dare to say sorry. He could only bite the bullet and scold, Xia Qian. What did you do to me? It hurts. You hooligan. After saying this, he realized that he was on top and she was below. So he hugged her waist, turned around, and put her on top of him again. But he still held the woman's hips tightly, not allowing her to escape. Qin Fian grabbed Xia Qian's shoulders and pulled her down to press her down on top of him. He then put his lips on hers and shouted, "Xia Qian, you hooligan. You actually kissed me." Men were like kissing in bed. They had super high awareness and knew how to move. But a virgin for the first time couldn't bear the pain. He thought that he could be very strong and never fall. In the end, while Xia Qian was screaming in pain, Qin Fian surrendered very quickly. Qin Fian was a man who had never slept with a woman or been in a relationship. If he were to be taught how to love a woman in bed, he definitely wouldn't know. He was annoyed that he was so fast. Why didn't he last a little longer? But more importantly, Qin Fian finally thought that Xia Qian belonged to him. Xia Qian was a little awake, but her thoughts were tangled up by Qin Fian, who had a bitter and vengeful expression on his face. Qin Fian wrapped himself in the blanket, revealing his pitiful but charming phoenix eyes. He complained in a tearful voice, "Xia Qian, you're not human. How dare you do such a thing to me? How am I supposed to face people in the future?" Xia Qian was about to explain when she realized that she was tongue-tied. She was so anxious that she couldn't speak for a long time. She was still naked, but this man was wrapped up tightly. Did she rape him? But she was the one who was bleeding, okay? That's not right, Qin Fian, it's clearly what? Clearly what? What else do you want? What else do you want to do to me? No. Look at me like that. Qin Fian was very beautiful, comparable to a woman. At this moment, his sorrowful look was pitiful. Xia Qian hugged a pillow, which happened to cover her naked body. She was still not fully awake and had a terrible headache. Qin Fian's howling made her head hurt even more, as if there was a tumor growing in her brain. She was very angry and annoyed. What are you howling for? It's my first time. Qin Fian argued, what's so great about your first time? It's my first time too. I'm almost 26 years old and still a virgin. Do you think it's easy for me? You actually raped me. Qin Fian did not give Xia Qian a chance to think. He lifted the quilt, pulled Xia Qian into his quilt, and hugged her. His two legs tightly wrapped around her legs, and he snorted. Let me tell you, Xia Qian, I'm going to sue you for molesting me tomorrow. You have to compensate me for my psychological damage. I have to prevent you from running away. Let me tell you, this money, don't even think about not paying. Do you think I, Qin Fian, am so easy to bully? Try running away for fear of punishment. How much money do you want? Xia Qian was really uncomfortable with Qin Fian's howling. It was as if she had done something immoral. A man's first time was actually worth more than hers. Damn, what's so great about being a virgin? We'll talk about it tomorrow morning. Either we settle or we go to court. My heart is very hurt now. I'm very sleepy. I'm going to sleep for a while. You're not allowed to run away. Don't even think about denying the money. Are you transformed from a bird? Chirp, chirp. Damn it, you're so annoying. Xia Qian scolded and closed her eyes to sleep. Qin Fian heard Xia Qian's breathing and knew that she was still drunk. That was why it was so easy to deal with. But what if she woke up tomorrow morning? But what did the radio program say? Kiss. Don't ask. At most, he would be slapped twice. If he didn't kiss her, he would miss the opportunity. He had already done it. He couldn't regret it. Now that he was hugging Xia Qian like this, and he was a young man who had just experienced love for the first time, this feeling could only be understood but not described. He released too quickly just now. He was a little embarrassed, but he was confident that he could do it well the second time. Xia Qian's cry of pain just now made him feel conflicted. How could he make her not feel pain? If she woke up faster each time, it would be difficult for him to cover it up. So he took advantage of the opportunity. After Xia Qian fell asleep, he got out of bed quietly and searched for his phone. He began to search for information on the internet. The internet was a good thing. You could find anything you wanted. With one search, all kinds of strange things would come out. Qin Fian got on the bed again. He began to kiss Xia Qian slowly and patiently. He suppressed his impulse and didn't allow himself to be impatient. There were still burns on Xia Qian's back. Qin Fian touched there and his heart ached. This time, he kissed Xia Qian, who was drunk like a dead pig and moaned from time to time, while he slowly pushed himself into her body. Xia Qian kept feeling that her body was very swollen. She wanted to squeeze that thing out of her body, but she just wanted to suck it into her body. It was very torturous. It was like a dream. She was jolted awake. When she found that she was on top of Qin Fian again, she felt that she was going crazy. She actually had Qin Fian on top of her again. Qin Fian looked at the woman lying on his chest. When she propped herself up, he knew that things weren't going well. When he was slow, she was always dizzy. Sometimes, she would moan a few times. After thinking about it, he felt that it should be fine. However, he was afraid that she would wake up and see him on top of her. So, he simply flipped her over like before and placed her on top of him. He just wanted to give it a try quickly. After a few jolts, she woke up. This time, Qin Fian didn't stop. He shouted, "Xia Qian. You're really going too far. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll think that I'm easy to bully, right? Why are you always on top of me?" Xia Qian was stunned by his shout. Her body had already flipped over and was pressed down by Qin Fian. Then, she was hit. "Hey! I didn't do it on purpose. Why are you so hard?" Qin Fian was a little embarrassed. "Oh, then I'll be gentler." For the entire night, Qin Fian used revenge as an excuse and took Xia Qian apart again and again. He felt that this way, his first night was worth it. He could finally enjoy the beauty of being a man. It was really different. The next morning, Qin Fian didn't dare to sleep for too long. There were still a lot of things to deal with at home. However, he also had to deal with Xia Qian's matter. Especially after what happened last night, this matter couldn't be delayed. Seeing that she was exhausted, Qin Fian carefully got out of bed. He took a shower under the shower. What happened last night still felt like a dream. He felt that last night was like a night of sex. Qin Fian's skin was fair. After the hot shower, there was a layer of pink on his skin. He raised his head and let the water wash over his skin. He had to be 120% alert. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to get through today. Now, he was a little thankful that Xia Qian would act like an idiot from time to time. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so easily fooled. What a headache. It was too scary for a woman like her to go out to work. No wonder she didn't get into university. Even if she did, her teacher wouldn't recommend her to an internship. She was really unlucky. In the future, he would be the one to end her miserable life. Qin Fian wiped the water off his body, wrapped a bath towel around his waist, and filled the bathtub with water. He carried Xia Qian from the bed and wanted to put her in the bathtub. Xia Qian was still sleeping soundly. She was startled by the water and continued to sleep. Qin Fian poured water on her and called her, "Qian Qian, Qian Qian." Xia Qian was in a daze. She felt really comfortable at this moment. "What? After you finish bathing? Let's go get the marriage certificate. I have something to do this afternoon. It can't be delayed." "Huh?" Xia Qian shivered and shook her head to wake up. God, why was Qin Fian here? Why was Qin Fian bathing her? He was bathing her naked. She wanted to stand up, but found that there was nothing to cover her. She immediately wrapped her arms around her chest. He was still shirtless. Shameless. Come and see, Hengcha 866. Chapter 749. What did this guy say? Marriage certificate? Was his brain kicked by a donkey? He slapped away Qin Fian's hand that was rubbing against his shoulder. The water splashed all over Qin Fian, but he was not angry. He repeated, I said, let's go get the marriage certificate. Why? Qin Fian pouted pitifully and complained, you slept with me last night. Shouldn't we go get the marriage certificate? Xia Qian swallowed. What marriage? She slept with him. She thought for a long time. But didn't he say that she couldn't afford to sleep with him? Didn't you ask for money? How much money do you have? How much are you worth? If it's not enough, I'll borrow from my sister. Marry? Even if she wanted to find a boyfriend, she couldn't marry Qin Fian, right? Can you afford to pay me back in the future? Xia Qian, she asked guiltily, how much? 1 billion. Can you afford it? If you can't, then marry me. Qin Fian raised his eyebrows and said. He thought to himself, a lion has to ask for a lot. If I don't ask, can I still be a lion? Qin Fian. You bastard. Why are you so expensive? Xia Qian was confused. She was confused 10,000 times. God, this is too much. *CK, I really can't afford to sleep with him. Qin Fian, I want to put it on credit. Qin Fian choked. He looked at the girl whose face was steaming from the hot water. She looked serious. Put it on credit. What did she mean? Xia Qian was very anxious. Such an expensive man. God, she never thought that she would sleep with a man with such a high price. There was such a person. She wanted to get married if he didn't pay. Other than looking good and having a good figure, Qin Fian didn't fit her description of a future partner at all. Although she was a little stupid, when it came to marriage, she should at least find a reliable man, right? She couldn't see through other people's personalities, but she should be able to tell if they were reliable or not, right? Qin Fian was not a reliable person at all. If she had those unparalleled martial arts skills in wuxia novels, she would definitely get rid of evil for the people and bring peace to the people. Xia Qian didn't think that she would be able to walk out of the shadow of losing her virginity so quickly. She was convinced. Could it be that sleeping with a good-looking virgin could make her feel better? She slapped herself in her heart, but it was useless. What she cared about the most now was the billion, not her life. She thought for a moment. Why did Qin Fian quote such a high price? She tilted her head and asked, Qin Fian, this is my first time too. Why do I have to pay you back? I can also be worth 1.5 billion. Qin Fian smiled. He stood up and squeezed some shampoo from the wall dispenser. He squatted down and mixed some water, then applied it on Xia Qian's head and washed her hair. Qian, you can't quote a sky-high price for this money. Why does a person have to have a status? It's so that they can estimate the value when they suffer a loss. He mixed some water again and brushed the corners of her hair to the top of her head, creating a large ball of bubbles. Qin Fian squatted outside the bathtub with a towel wrapped around his waist, as if he had washed someone's hair countless times. At that time, he was 15 years old and lived in her house. Many girls liked to run to her house because they saw that he was pretty and wanted to get close to him. Every time she wanted to show everyone that he was hers, she would bring a basin of water to the dam outside the courtyard and sit on a small stool to let him wash her hair. He would even dry clean it, just like the hairdressers in the city. Children in the countryside didn't wash their hair every day. Not only did she wash it every day, sometimes twice a day. Now that she was in the bubbles, the shampoo had changed, but the texture of her hair didn't seem to have changed. Her hair was thin, not thick, and not black. Qin Fian sighed. He felt that Xia Qian wasn't the kind of person who liked to be sad, so the corners of his mouth twitched again. He said leisurely, Qian, think about it. If the two of us went out at the same time and got scratched by a car, how much would you ask them to pay? Think about it. How much would I ask them to pay? Scratched? Scratched by a car. Not a bicycle. Yes, a car. Qin Fian saw that Xia Qian was enjoying him washing her hair. Seeing that she was serious, he sat on the edge of the bathtub and sat behind her. This way, he could brush all the hair and bubbles back. Let's talk about a car. Let's estimate it at 1 million. Xia Qian wanted to talk to Qin Fian, but he was already behind her. But this was good. She watered herself and bathed. Such an expensive car. No matter what, I have to ask him to pay 5 or 10,000 yuan. I can't let him get away with it. I have to buy some tonics to nourish my body. What's wrong with scratching the skin? Even scratching the skin is still flesh and blood, right? After Xia Qian finished speaking, she pretended to frown and clenched her fists. Qin Fian clasped his hands together and brushed his hair back along his hairline, creating a big bunch of bubbles. He then stood up and threw the bubbles into the toilet bowl. Yes, even scratching the skin is still flesh and blood. But if I were to be scratched by a car like this, I would ask him to pay me 1 million yuan. Xia Qian trembled and spat. 1 million yuan. Qin Fian, are you shameless? It's just a scratch. 1 million yuan is considered a small amount. If I were to be scratched, I would have to go to the hospital to clean up the wound, delay my time, delay a contract, and possibly lose hundreds of millions. 1 million yuan is considered letting him off easy. If he angers me, I will think of ways to make his career go down the drain. So, my value is different. You calculate this multiple. If you are worth 1.5 billion yuan, how many times do I have to pay? Xia Qian was scared silly. Forget it, it was better not to compare with him. He was a young master, and she was a little cabbage. What was there to compare? Let's talk about credit. Qin Fian, I said I want to be cheap on credit. Did you hear me? There's no credit. Qin Fian was about to wash Xia Qian's hair. Lower your head. I will wash the bubbles for you. Oh, okay. Xia Qian. She wondered why she was so obedient to him. Qin Fian did not use the shower head. Instead, he took a cup of tea from the hotel and washed it for Xia Qian. Qian, do you remember when you were young, someone washed your hair like this? Xia Qian lowered her head, but her eyes were open. She was not afraid that the bubbles would enter her eyes. Who was it? Who is still so old-fashioned and washes their hair with a cup of water? Don't you have a shower head? Are you stupid? Ha, Qian, I am stupid. You just realized. Qin Fian smiled, but his smile was a little bitter. Qin Fian, let's talk business. I want to be on credit. I don't allow credit. How can you do that? When you do business, you have to make a down payment, an advance payment, a contract payment, and a final payment. Why can't I? Qin Fian said, Qian, you know quite a lot. Are you kidding? I am also a host. If I don't know these things, how can I survive? Okay, you can make the down payment of 100 million. Xia Qian wanted to raise her head a few times, but Qin Fian held her down. I'm on credit. I don't have the money for the down payment. Give me a discount and I'll pay in installments. Forget it, don't pay in installments. Once we get married, you don't have to pay me back. 1.5 billion. You won't be able to pay it back even if you earn it for the rest of your life. So, I can't give you such a big sum of money on credit. Qin Fian wanted to get married, but Xia Qian thought he was not reliable. Xia Qian thought that she was already very unreliable. When she found a husband, she had to be more down to earth. She should be like Jiang Zhao, who could be seen as reliable. Jiang Zhao was Xia Qian's standard for a husband. How could Qin Fian and Jiang Zhao be the same type? So, they did not get married. But Xia Qian promised Qin Fian that she would give him an answer when he returned from Ji City. So, during the days in Ji City, Qin Fian was anxious to return home. Fei Yu was sent to Jiang Zhao's house. Her body was still a little weak and the pink color of her lips had not returned. Yi Er carried a pile of snacks to Fei Yu's bed and opened them for her to eat. Yi Er's hair was tied up in a bun on top of her head. She wore maternity clothes and sat cross-legged on the bed. She opened a bag of spicy rice crust and handed it to Fei Yu, who was reading a book. "Little Yu, eat some of this." Fei Yu shook her head. "Sister-in-law, I don't want to eat." Yi Er pushed it to Fei Yu's mouth anxiously. "Eat it, eat it. When Jiang Zhao comes back tonight, I'll say you ate it. You eat 1 bag, I'll eat 3. When Jiang Zhao comes back tonight, I'll say you ate 4. Fei Yu laughed. "Sister-in-law, you're asking me to eat it. Do you want me to take the blame for you? It doesn't count as taking the blame, right? You did eat it, didn't you? Sister-in-law, you're pregnant now. You shouldn't eat this kind of heaty food. It's not good for the baby. Even someone like me knows that. Eat more fruit. Fruit is good for the baby's skin. Eat it. I eat a lot of fruit. When I eat this kind of heaty food, I'll immediately eat some cold fruit. That's why I can't get heaty. It's pressing down." Fei Yu couldn't refuse. "How about this, open this bag. I'll eat 2 pieces and give the rest to you. When brother comes back, I'll say I ate it. Is that okay?" "Fei Yu, you're so loyal." "Okay, you eat 2 pieces and give the rest to me. You have to promise that you won't betray me. You can't tell your brother." "Hee, I'm not worried about sister-in-law. But when you're done eating, you have to remember to eat some cold fruit. Don't get heaty. Otherwise, my brother will kill me. Don't worry. I'm also very loyal." Yi Er winked playfully at Fei Yu. Yi Er used the same method to trick Fei Yu into eating a lot of things. Sour, spicy. It made Fei Yu's expression colorful and very cute. Fei Yu was clearly unhappy. But after a day, she was teased by Yi Er until she kept laughing. When Yi Er finally left Fei Yu's room, she let out a big breath and thought to herself, "God, I'm so tired. Serving a little girl who dares to take poison is really a technical job. It's too difficult to make her happy. It's too challenging." When Jiang Zhao returned home at night, he quickly found that there was a big dent in the snack box. It was a deep hole. He asked the housekeeper at home. The housekeeper said she had never eaten it before. It was all Madam's favorite food. Jiang Zhao was so angry that he let out a big breath. He didn't allow her to buy this kind of junk food at home. She promised to eat less, but she actually dared to eat so much. "Yunyi, come out." Fei Yu heard it from upstairs. She thought to herself, "It's over. Brother Zhao is angry." 5 minutes later, Yi Er and Fei Yu stood in a row. "How much did you eat?" Yi Er pouted and wobbled. She didn't feel guilty at all when she started to lie. "I only ate a few plums. Fei Yu ate the rest." If you don't believe me, you can ask Fei Yu. In fact, after Fei Yu's appetite was aroused, she really did eat a lot. "Brother, I ate it. Sister-in-law only ate a few plums. Those pickled peppers were really delicious. Although it was a bit spicy, so spicy that I kept sweating. But the spicy feeling of sweating is really good." Jiang Zhao wondered if he had gone too far. Would Fei Yu think too much about it? "Fei Yu, don't think too much. I'm just worried that your sister-in-law will get heaty. The housekeeper can't even make herbal tea for her every day. I'm afraid it's not good for the baby. If you like it, I'll buy some tomorrow when I come back from work." Fei Yu was a bit scared. Sister-in-law actually got so heaty. Tomorrow, she would never do something like this again. No matter what, she had to keep a close eye on sister-in-law. This greedy cat. So on the second day after Fei Yu moved into the 9th mansion, she was no longer under anyone's care. She began to take care of Yi Er. Yi Er said that pregnant women were most afraid of spraining their waists and cramping their legs. She said a lot of things to pay attention to. Fei Yu remembered them all. When she saw Yi Er holding some snacks in her hands, she would snatch them and eat them herself. When she saw her bare feet hanging outside, she would help her put on socks. After Fei Yu came, Yi Er kept forgetting things. Her memory was deteriorating, and her self-control was deteriorating. Fei Yu's nerves were on the verge of collapsing. She put all her energy into taking care of Yi Er's every move. When they were in bed, Yi Er told Jiang Zhao about her good intentions. The little girl can't be idle at this time. She has to have something to do. Let her lie in bed and recuperate. The more she recuperates, the quieter she becomes. The quieter she is, the easier it is for something to happen. If I let her have a string in her heart, she won't have time to think about her own matters, right? If she doesn't have time to think, she won't be depressed and unhappy all day. If she can't figure it out, she has to think about the pregnant woman at home. Fei Yu, this child, is still very responsible. She just can't bear to see me pitiful. She, is too compassionate. That Feng Shen was born out of her love and care. She is used to taking care of others. The more she gives, the more feelings she has. Isn't that right? Wifey, you're so smart. Jiang Zhao kissed Yi Er's forehead fiercely. Feng Shen is fine. Wait for Grandpa to come back and deal with it. Fei Yu is still young after all. I think so too. Fei Yu is still okay. She's only 16 or 17 years old. What does she know about feelings? When I was 16 or 17 years old, I didn't know anything. Jiang Zhao frowned. That's right. How could he forget that his wife was also a little girl? She wasn't even 20 years old when she was with him. She was still young. He asked a little jealously, then did you know when you were 18 or 19 years old? Yi Er looked into Jiang Zhao's eyes. She saw that his expression was a little unnatural. The corners of her mouth opened and she chuckled. I understood when I was 19 years old. Jiang Zhao hugged Yi Er before. 19 years old? She knew him when she was 19 years old. Really? Yeah, I only understood after I met you. Yi Er smiled until her face was rotten. She snuggled into Jiang Zhao's arms to ask for a reward. Very obedient. Hubby, be good. Is there a reward? Yi Er's hand reached into Jiang Zhao's clothes. Not too often. Tomorrow. How about tomorrow? Be gentle. It's okay. Yi Er acted coquettishly and shamelessly tugged at Jiang Zhao's pajamas. Come and see, Songshu 566. Chapter 750. Xia Qian received a piece of news that made her very excited. She could host a show. She had waited for so long, and now she could officially host a show in front of the camera. She felt that she should do her best to welcome her new job. This was an opportunity, and also an opportunity. But when the head of the department gave her the program list, Xia Qian was depressed. Why was she, a young woman who had just lost her virginity, asked to host a late-night talk show? Moreover, it was a talk show about heterosexual topics. The topics discussed were all kinds of heterosexual topics. Xia Qian was depressed. Xia Qian found the bald department head. She held the program list in her hand and stammered, not knowing what to say. She scratched the back of the department head's desk with her fingernails for a long time before saying, Department head Zhang, do you think it's possible for me to swap with another colleague for this show? Department head Zhang, whose eyes were still a little swollen, raised his head. He looked like he was in low spirits after too much indulgence. When he looked at Xia Qian, he smiled and said, Swap? Yes, with my qualifications, I'm afraid it won't be very convincing for me to host this kind of show. Xia Qian thought, why couldn't she host something? She had just lost her virginity in a daze, and she still owed a huge debt after losing her virginity. Wasn't it too difficult for her to talk about sex with the audience? What's wrong with your qualifications? Xia Qian was still a little afraid of the department head. After all, it was rare for her to be valued by the department head. She could just swap with another colleague, and the department wouldn't lose anything. I think it's more suitable for this kind of show to host an emotional show. Why don't you continue to do odd jobs? Department head Zhang said coldly and stood up. If you don't want to host, I'll go and ask which interns are willing to host. This program has a high viewership rating in our station, and several hosts became famous because of this program. When Xia Qian heard that she would do odd jobs, she immediately extinguished the fire. Okay. I'll host. The reason why this show was so popular even when it was broadcast at 12:30 p.m. was because the topics discussed were very broad. Menstruation, leukorrhea, orgasm, erection, impotence, one-night stands. Sex equals hunger, affairs, third party, etc. They talked about all the topics about the right and wrong views of the world. The female host's style of dress required a short skirt. Even if she wore a high-collared top, she had to wear a short skirt or hot pants. Once, there was a female host who wore a sexy high-waisted dress that exposed her navel and chest. She was on the front page of the newspaper the next day and became famous overnight. Xia Qian actually didn't feel that there was anything that couldn't be talked about. When they were in the university dormitory, there was nothing that girls didn't dare to talk about when they were together. Whether it was men, women, women, or their positions, there was nothing that they hadn't studied before. But in front of the camera, he felt a little embarrassed. After all, he didn't have much experience. Xia Qian put on her makeup and changed her clothes. She didn't even dare to look at herself in the mirror. The TV station had prepared a short denim skirt that exposed her midriff. They said that at her age, she would look sexy in such a dress. Qin Fian's daily call came. Qian, what are you doing? Xia Qian felt that Qin Fian was her creditor now, so she had to be a little more polite to him. After all, every time she wanted to hang up on him, he would say that it was a creditor's call. So expensive. As soon as she saw Qin Fian's call flash, Xia Qian saw a screen full of money. She could only think of one word: so expensive. Why did she sleep with such an expensive man? So expensive that she couldn't afford to sleep with other men for the rest of her life. The most tragic thing was that before you could taste anything, he would tell you to pay up. You've already eaten everything. How wronged. I'm preparing to go on the show, Xia Qian answered perfunctorily. She sat on the stool and looked at the A4 paper in her hand. Some of the content for the show was written on it. Today's topic was, have we now entered the era of love and sexual independence? Xia Qian frowned. She didn't know what love was, but this topic was too profound. Ah. You're going on the show. Qin Fian was originally lying on the bed reading a magazine. At this moment, he was so happy that he turned around and crossed his legs. So fast. Originally, he wanted to arrange for her to be a host when he got back. He didn't expect that she would already be on the show with her own efforts. That was amazing. His wife was really capable. Her brain was still as smart as before. Qin Fian was very satisfied with his taste. I can't go on the show. Xia Qian, who had been a little annoyed, suddenly felt uncomfortable when she heard Qin Fian's rhetorical question. What was wrong? Everyone was looking down on her, right? When they heard that she was on the show, they had such a big reaction. They didn't believe her. Was she that bad? Why would she be surprised when she was on the show? What? I'm just happy for you. You can finally go on the show. I'm just praising you. What do you mean I can finally go on the show? You're obviously looking down on me. How am I looking down on you? I'm obviously happy for you. Qin Fian felt wronged. How did this become looking down on her? Who wants you to be happy for me? It's expected that I'll be on the show. There's nothing to be happy about. Okay. Our Qian is not surprised by honor or disgrace. I didn't say anything just now. When Qin Fian was 15 years old, he had been enslaved by Bing Dan. So he was used to being ordered around by Bing Dan. Bing Dan used to ask him to flatter her. Even when the cat at home caught a mouse, he had to say that it was her ability because she fed the cat well. So when Xia Qian was a little fierce now, Qin Fian would immediately give in to the girl who raised her head but felt inferior, just like before. I'm not talking to you anymore. You're so annoying. Qian, what show are you hosting? Well, I'm so busy right now. I'll tell you when I'm done recording. Xia Qian took the opportunity to hang up the phone. Damn it, she was not going to tell him what show she was hosting. But Qin Fian was not willing to let her know. He hung up the phone. He had nothing to do in G City, so he had a video conference in the morning. Jiang Zhao did not come. Shen Kai was afraid that Shen Xian would feel burdened, so he stayed by her side all day. Grandpa and old Master Pei talked about a lot of things all day long. They talked about calligraphy, Buddhism, and other things that he was not interested in at all. Since he had nothing to do, he might as well find his wife's show and see her style of hosting. Qin Fian called his secretary and asked her to check Xia Qian's show on Channel 3. Xia Qian's body stiffened. She bent over and tugged at her skirt. She wanted to pull up the straps to cover her belly button, but her breasts were exposed. She really wanted to give herself she wrapped herself in a blanket and went on stage. The high stool was really a stool that could make a woman's legs look sexy and slender. Especially according to the design's suggestion, when the high heels touched the floor, her legs looked more than 10 centimeters longer. Xia Qian was not used to wearing high heels on the floor. The first time she wore high heels in her life was at Yi-er's wedding. Dear audience, we meet again at midnight. Today, we are discussing, have we entered the era of love and sexual independence? This is the new generation of show hosts, Xia Qian. There was a round of polite applause. There were 2 men and 2 women. The 4 high stools formed a semicircle. After the main host introduced the other 3 hosts, they quickly went into the topic of today's show. Qin Fian heard his secretary report that the show hosted by Xia Qian was called The Era of Sex. When he heard that, he was stunned. What show is this? The beautiful secretary laughed. Boss, don't you know? This is the most popular sex show at 12:30 in High City. It specializes in borderline sex topics. Qin Fian's mouth twitched. He repeated, sex topics. Yes, it's about the things between men and women. Of course, there were also discussions about men and women. However, it was mainly a show about men and women. In order to attract attention, the hosts were very little. Both men and women dress very sexily, so this is the reason for the high ratings. If Qin Fian still said that he understood after the secretary explained it like this, he must have been infected by Xia Qian. He asked so many times to confirm it. She was actually hosting such a show. She was going to be the daughter-in-law of the Qin family in the future. How could she host such a show without caring about her image? Xia Qian, the young people of this generation, especially young people like you, have just graduated from university and stepped into society. How do you differentiate between love and sex? Xia Qian was stunned. She thought that this host was too unkind. The program list he gave her didn't have this question, but now he was asking her a question that wasn't on the program list. Was he crazy? But the tape was spinning. The director raised a sign at Xia Qian that said, "Breaking news. Fight for position." Xia Qian sighed in her heart. Damn, being a host was really not a job for humans. She smiled generously. I don't think there's a need to differentiate. When it comes to sex, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is to do it in bed. Xia Qian choked and tightened her grip on the microphone. Make love. There's the word love in it. Is there a need to differentiate? Haha, so you're saying that people of your generation think that love and sex are inseparable? Xia Qian broke out in a cold sweat for herself. I think that men who can be separated are ducks, and women who can be separated are chickens. Because they treat sex as work, they don't need love. What they need is money. The director gave Xia Qian a thumbs up and raised a sign. Choose something more casual. You must choose something more casual. You can't be traditional. Then what if you and your partner's sex life is not harmonious? Xia Qian was going crazy. She was a young woman who had just lost her virginity, and now someone was asking her what she should do if her sex life was not harmonious. She looked at the director who was raising a sign at her and kept slapping it. She braced herself and said, "When men are in bed, when the lights are off, aren't they all different? What's there to be harmonious? If it's not harmonious, then get rid of it and change." Qin Fian grabbed the phone and felt all the hair on his body stand on end. He shouted angrily at his secretary, "Immediately! Immediately! Stop this show! Get the judicial department involved. This kind of show is not legal at all." Ad. Songshu 566. Chapter 751. The beautiful secretary was confused by Qin Fian's scolding. "But boss, now, don't I know it's night time now? I don't know if the judicial department is off work now. What do I need a secretary for?" Qin Fian hung up the phone. He was so angry that his head was about to explode. The beautiful secretary had never been scolded by Qin Fian before. This was the first time. What did women say? Usually, even if Qin Fian wanted to punish people, he would use his devilish smile to confuse the audience. He would give you a gentle stab so that you wouldn't feel the pain. But the stab would have already cut off your bonus, removed your year-end bonus, dug out your annual leave, and so on. But this time, he scolded her so fiercely that she couldn't come back to her senses. The beautiful secretary thought for a moment and quickly started to think of a way. She made a call immediately. Qin Fian started to pack his ID card and check his wallet. He called Qin Rongfang. "Grandpa, I won't play with you here anymore. I have to go back to Haicheng." "Why are you going back so early? Haven't you arranged everything? Didn't you say that you were going on vacation when you came out?" "Grandpa, how can I be in the mood to play? I'll tell you in detail when I get back." Qin Fian didn't care about his reputation, but he was very concerned that Xia Qian would become the talk of others. How could it be the same? He was a man. At most, others would laugh at him for being gay, that was all. But Xia Qian was different. She was a girl and wasn't married yet. How important was her reputation? People would say that it was fine for her to host the show. But people would say that her skirt was short, her skin was exposed, and she had seen countless men. What did that look like? What did she say? That she could throw a man on the bed? Qin Fian couldn't help but curse in his heart. He didn't live in the Pei family's mansion and always felt that it was very reserved to live in someone else's house. This was good too. It saved him a lot of unnecessary formalities. He just had to make a call and be polite. He put his coat on his wrist, picked up his suitcase, and left the room. His long legs strode out, heavy and fast. Xia Qian's program was suspended halfway through. The program crew panicked. How could a good program be suspended halfway? The sponsors of this show were paying a lot of money for their advertisements because of the high viewership ratings. What should they do now? The beautiful secretary didn't care too much. She called for him immediately. The only thing she could think of was the background of the Qin family. She didn't dare to look for Jiang Zhao, but she had Jiang Zhao's contact number. In the end, after she repeated Qin Fian's words, Jiang Zhao quickly used his connections to stop the show. Xia Qian got off to a bad start. In the beginning, she was still wondering why she had to host such a lousy show. But now, she began to doubt her life. Every almanac in her life had the words, "Everything is unfavorable," written on it. Since he couldn't find a job, he had to ask Jiang Zhao for help. It was not easy for him to start his internship, but he could not come into contact with any substantial hosting work every day. It was not easy to get an exterior master, but it was ruined by Qin Fian's drowning incident. Since then, she began her long career of doing odd jobs. Doing odd jobs could have been more mundane, but intentionally or unintentionally, she offended many colleagues. It was not easy for the minister to see her hard-working nature and give her a lousy show host. Now, her lousy show was ruined. This was because of her work. Her life and studies were not smooth sailing. Her grades were not good, and the teachers did not like her. She could not get into university, and her sister helped her. She failed many subjects, and her sister finally found someone to help her. She went to a nightclub to pick up a duck, and her sister and Yi Er's man ruined it. She attended Yi Er's wedding, and wanted to take back the bridesmaid's dress to make a formal dress, but Qin Fian tore it. She took revenge on Qin Fian, and he smeared chili all over her body. Now, she felt her whole body burning when she saw chili. She did not dare to eat chili anymore. After drinking, she slept with Qin Fian. It was fine if they slept together, but who knew that they would end up in a lot of debt? Xia Qian thought desperately, when has my life been smooth sailing? It seemed like it had never been smooth sailing. Xia Qian wanted to drink at a small bar. At this time, the bar was about to close. She bought some alcohol, returned to her small house, and started drinking by herself. Xia Qian felt that she was useless. She had never done anything by herself. If it were not for her sister, she reckoned that if she were to wash dishes for others, they would not want her because she broke the cutlery easily. The house was given to her by her sister. At that time, her sister wanted to give her a big one, but she did not want it. In the end, she could only compromise and get a small one-bedroom apartment of less than 40 square meters. Actually, deep down, she still wanted to buy a house with her own ability. But now she realized that this was just a luxurious dream. Not only was her IQ not high, even her EQ was not high. Thinking about this made her feel very depressed. Xia Qian was very drunk. She took the remote control and used it as a microphone. Facing the television, she said very seriously, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are now broadcasting the first piece of news. Today, at 12:30 a.m., a show was suddenly stopped. Everyone is speculating about the reason for the sudden stop. There are different opinions. According to sources who know the truth, it was because a new host called Xia Qian joined the show, causing the show's feng shui to change drastically. Because of the magnetic field, Xia Qian's birth characters were not right, so the show was stopped." Someone knocked on the door. When Xia Qian heard someone knocking on the door, she went to open it. When she opened the door, she was scolded by the man who rushed in. "You opened the door without asking who it was? What if it was a bad guy?" "Huh? Bad guy? Is there anyone worse than Qin Fian in this world?" Xia Qian rolled her eyes at Qin Fian. It was not like she had not seen him through the peephole. The drunk Xia Qian was very brave. She was not afraid of Qin Fian. Qin Fian placed her suitcase at the door and closed it. He was exhausted. Fortunately, it was easy to find her place. Her house was really small. Zhuang Yichen was really stingy. He lived in the 9th mansion and bought a large duplex in Qingfeng Garden for his woman. He gave his sister-in-law a bird's nest. He had to buy her a bigger house tomorrow, or else it would be too shabby. Smelling the smell of alcohol in the house, Qin Fian took off the scarf around his neck. Seeing that there was nowhere else to hang it, he casually placed it on the back of the chair at the dining table. He took off his jacket and put it on. He wanted to ask about the show, but when he saw Xia Qian's gloomy face, he held back. "Why did you drink?" "To celebrate the sad life of Xia Qian, who had everything going wrong." "How are you sad? Aren't you sad? It's not easy to go on a show, but it was stopped." "Oh, I was the one who stopped it." Qin Fian went to the water dispenser to get some water. He was so thirsty that he did not stop drinking. "What?" Qin Fian bent over, holding a disposable cup. He was just about to fill it with water, but he did not like disposable cups at all. The water dispenser was placed on the small coffee table. On top of it was a pink porcelain cup with a big belly. It was very cute. There was also a long stainless steel spoon in it. He pointed at the cup and asked Xia Qian, "Your cup?" "Yes, mine." Xia Qian had already stood up. She was a little drunk and swayed. She asked in surprise, "You said you stopped it." "Yes, I stopped it." Qin Fian picked up the cup and started to pour water. He drank from her cup. He did not want to drink from a disposable cup. It would make him look like a guest. In the past, when they were in Starfield Town, there would always be some meat left in her bowl. In the end, she would always ask him to finish it for her. During that time when they were locked in the cellar, they had not seen oily meat for a long time. They always felt that they could not get enough meat. They felt that there was nothing more delicious than meat. However, after they left Starfield Town, the taste of meat had completely changed. Qin Fian was still reminiscing about the past. He had just swallowed 2 mouthfuls of water when his head was suddenly hit hard by a woman. It was the remote control in Xia Qian's hand. Xia Qian was not satisfied after hitting him. She jumped up and clung onto Qin Fian. She started to scratch and hit him. "You shameless B*****. Man! Who told you to stop my show? Who told you to stop it?" She was indeed a jinx. She had even stopped such a popular show in the station. This Qin Fian was the ultimate scumbag. Qin Fian spilled the water in his hand. Although it was a wooden floor, the decoration was obviously not bad. The floor was made of raw wood with bright wax. When the water stained the floor and Qin Fian was grabbed by Xia Qian, he lost his balance and fell to the ground. The spoon and the cup fell to the ground. The two of them were entangled on the ground. Xia Qian really wanted to scratch this man until his face was disfigured. However, she could not hit his face every time. She was anxious and angry. She said angrily, "You scumbag." Qin Fian had been rushing non-stop all the way. He was exhausted. Now that Xia Qian was grabbing and hitting him, he was annoyed. He grabbed her hand. The beauty's face darkened. He coldly reprimanded, "You shrew." Xia Qian lowered her head to bite Qin Fian's hand. Once her hand was free, she took advantage of the situation. The after effects of the alcohol were strong. She immediately rode on Qin Fian. "I was just hosting a show. What right do you have to stop it? What right do you have? You be *****. Qin Fian lay on the ground and looked at Xia Qian's pear blossom hair. She lowered her head to look at him. Her hair covered both sides of her face. Her face was small and her face was red. She looked like an ice egg that had been tired from running. His heart softened and he tried to persuade her. "How can a woman host a show like that? How do you want people to talk about you in the future? I'm doing this for your own good." Xia Qian could not bear to hear his argument. Since when was it his turn to worry about her matters? What did he say? A woman can't host a show like that? There were many women who became popular on that show. She was not convinced. Looking at Qin Fian's beautiful face, she wanted to destroy him. She was so anxious that she clenched her fists. She made up her mind and raised her fist in the air to hit him. "What do you know? A good woman can hold up half the sky. She can host any show." Qin Fian caught the woman's fist firmly. With a nimble flip, he turned her around and pressed her on top of him. He pulled her small fist to his lips and kissed it. Looking at the woman's angry face, he said in a low voice, "Then do you know that there's a saying, a good man will never be pressed on top of someone?" As soon as he finished speaking, he kissed the woman's lips. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 752. Xia Qian tilted her head to avoid Qin Fian's mouth and spat, "What a good man, my ass. Can a good man be gay? Didn't I already prove to you that I'm not gay?" Qin Fian was implying something and lowered his head to kiss her again. Xia Qian moved her body to hit him. Get lost. Qin Fian shrugged and let the woman's small fists loosen his muscles and bones. Get lost where? Get lost where you came from. A virgin was eaten up by you just like that? Xia Qian was angry. Nonsense. Qin Fian laughed. It's like a piece of soap. You wash it until the logo is gone. Is it possible to throw it back on the shelf and sell it again? I'm not a second-time seller. Once it's sold, it's non-refundable. When Xia Qian was stripped naked by Qin Fian and thrown onto the bed, he was still hitting her. Her body was about to fall apart. She thought to herself, if you don't want to return it, then don't. If the logo is gone, you can wash it slowly. Does he want to wash the soap away in one night? She was so anxious that she shouted under Qin Fian, get out. Don't press on me. Marry me, I won't press on you. You're lying. I'm not lying. If you marry me, I won't press on you in the future. How about it? Xia Qian was a fool, and she was even more stupid after drinking. She was actually tortured by Qin Fian into agreeing. However, Xia Qian said something that made Qin Fian, who had just lost his virginity a few days ago, hate her. Xia Qian muttered after drinking, in the novels, it's written that having sex is a pleasure. Why do I feel like I'm suffering? I don't feel the pleasure at all. But even if he hated her, Qin Fian still resisted touching Xia Qian when he hugged her to sleep. As long as they got married, he would torment her enough. When Xia Qian woke up, Qin Fian asked Xia Qian to marry him. Marry? Who promised you that? You said that as long as I don't touch you again, you will marry me. What? Did I say that? That's right. You're the one who said it. Then I'll sleep here every day in the future. If you don't agree, I'll tell your sister that you slept with me. Let's see how she'll deal with you. The matter of the marriage was settled on a sunny and windy morning in winter. In a daze, Xia Qian became a married woman. Qin Fian took a picture of the marriage certificate with his mobile phone and sent it to his close friends and relatives. For a moment, Sea City was in an uproar. Qiu Xiaoye was furious. Xiaoye was so angry that she was jumping up and down at home. She was crazy. How could her sister get married in such a way? Moreover, it was a photo sent by Qin Fian. Her sister didn't even say a word. What was this? She was an elder. How could this girl be so stupid? Getting married was such a big thing. How could she just take her household register and go? Some media outlets heard the news and wanted to buy the copyright of the marriage certificate photo. Qin Fian didn't sell it. The next day, he made a front-page announcement, announcing that he was no longer single. At night, Xia Qian sat on the sofa in her small apartment and was forced into Qin Fian's arms. Qin Fian looked at Xiaoye smugly. He smiled and looked at Xiaoye. Sister. Xiaoye didn't know what to say. She thought of a lot of questions, but she couldn't get a single one out. Xia Qian didn't say anything now. She felt that she shouldn't be so stupid. This Qin Fian was like a rope that was holding her nose. She really hated him, but how could she listen to him and get married just like that? Shouldn't she be repulsed? But when she turned her head, she saw his eyes. His almond-shaped eyes were very seductive. The light in his eyes was so familiar that it was like asking for her life, ordering her to listen to him no matter what. When Xia Qian saw the light in Qin Fian's eyes, she felt defeated. She felt that he was her nemesis. She must have owed him a debt at some point. They were already married. It was too late to say anything now. Yi Er was holding her big belly and playing 5-in-a-row chess with Fei Yu at home. Jiang Zhao was beside them, telling them about Qin Fian's marriage. Fei Yu was amused. My brother must be keeping his chastity for sister-in-law Qian. The laughter of 3 people echoed in the house, with a strong sense of blessings. Yi touched her stomach and suddenly felt something bulging out of it. Ah, he kicked me. Jiang Zhao hurried over and touched Yi's belly. He quickly knelt on the ground and pressed his face and hand against Yi's belly. He laughed excitedly. Yunyi, you're amazing. Will the two of you fight inside? Turn over. The doctor said it's turning over. Jiang Zhao pressed against Yi's belly. He laughed until his eyes were a little wet. God, turning over made such a big commotion. Fei Yu wanted to pull Jiang Zhao away. Brother, let me. Let me touch it. Let me. You've been touching it for so long. Brother, let me, haha. No, I'll let you touch it tomorrow. When Xiaoyu returned to 9th mansion, she threw a tantrum. Zhuang Yichen felt that he had been giving in to her too much recently. She wasn't so bold in the past. Why are you throwing a tantrum? How old are you? Zhuang Yichen. Xiaoyu ran her fingers through her hair and threw her bag at Zhuang Yichen. My sister is already married. I know. Zhuang Yichen was annoyed for a moment. He casually placed Xiaoya's handbag on the cupboard, took off his jacket, and hung it on the hanger. He said calmly, the entire Haiqing knows. You promised me a long time ago. When exactly are we getting married? Zhuang Yichen's slender eyes flashed with hesitation. He turned and walked to the wine cabinet. After thinking for a while, he turned back to the living room and poured himself a glass of water. In the past, Xiaoyu would pour water for him. Today, she seemed to be in a bad mood, so he couldn't be bothered to tell her what to do. After a while, the 4 words were clear. When Xiaoyu heard them, she felt that the anger in her heart was about to burst out. Zhuang Yichen, what do you mean? Zhuang Yichen wasn't used to interacting with Xiaoyu in this way. The lights in the living room were warm in winter, but when they shone on Xiaoyu, he felt an indescribable coldness. He put down the glass, walked over, and pulled the woman into his arms. He could feel the rise and fall of her body. He comforted her softly. I said after a while, I promised to marry you. I'll marry you. Xiaoyu broke free from Zhuang Yichen and took a few steps back. She looked up at him and saw his dark, handsome eyebrows slightly furrowed. His slender eyes seemed to be reprimanding her for being unreasonable. Xiaoyu felt bitter in her heart, and her voice became more and more anxious. After a while, Zhuang Yichen, how long do you plan to be perfunctory with me? I've never thought of being perfunctory with you. Now's not the time. When have I ever broken my promises to you? Zhuang Yichen gradually lost his patience to coax her. He couldn't help but raise his voice. Xiaoyu tugged at the corners of her lips. She felt like her voice was blocked by something, and she couldn't continue speaking. She didn't want to mention it in her heart, but the good news came one after another. How could she remain indifferent? Then tell me, when is the time? You came out of the swamp because you promised to marry me, Zhuang Yichen. Yi is a mother now, and my sister even got her marriage certificate. Tell me, when is the time? You're still not going to announce it to the public. What are you trying to do? Are you afraid that I'll take a share of your assets? If that's the case, I'll go with you to get a prenuptial agreement. I don't want your money. Xiaoyu felt rather sad when she thought of this. Yi also had a motive for getting close to Jiang Zhao, but didn't Jiang Zhao also treat her so well? Qin Fian didn't seem like a fake either. She had always valued money. She always felt that she couldn't rely on anything in this life except for money. But now that she had finally found a tall, rich, and handsome man, he actually wanted to use a prenuptial agreement to get a marriage. Without a marriage, the two of them were together every day. Even though she was now living in his apartment, she felt like she would be kicked out of the house at any time. Yi was married and had a child. Her sister was also married. She was still single. There was a man in bed, but the spouse column was still empty. Xiaoyu tugged at the man with a cold expression. Tears almost fell from her eyes. Zhuang Yichen, I want to marry you right now. I just want to get married. You're not even willing to agree to this one condition. What's wrong with me? I don't want your money now. I'm even willing to get a prenuptial agreement with you. What else do you want me to do? Huh? Seeing the tears in Xiaoya's eyes, Zhuang Yichen's frown deepened. His eyes seemed to be holding back something. In the end, he just coldly interrupted, "What nonsense are you talking about? Wait a little longer. I didn't say that I don't want to marry you. It's not a matter of money. Can you understand my difficulties?" Xiaoya sniffled and turned to go upstairs. As she walked, she said, "Then let's not talk about it anymore. Since it's like this, I can't continue wasting my time on you. My youth is fading away every day. I can't let my youth be wasted like this. You go do your thing, I'll go live my life." Zhuang Yichen stood downstairs and heard the sounds of things being moved around upstairs. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. He strode up and saw that the woman had already pulled out her suitcase. The clothes in the wardrobe were piled into the suitcase. He was instantly furious. Little demon Qiu. From Zhuang Yichen's point of view, he really couldn't understand this woman's ridiculous behavior. She was always making a fuss or running away from home. How could she be so good at these kinds of tricks and not be tired of trying them out? Don't you dare walk out of this house today. He exhaled and stood at the door. His posture looked relaxed, but his eyes were sharp and cold as he stared at the woman who was packing her suitcase. Fine, I'll try. Do you think I'm still afraid of you? Now that my sister has Qin Fian's protection, do you think I'm still afraid of you? Xiaoya packed her things in a mess. She took her coat, dragged the oversized suitcase, and squeezed past Zhuang Yichen. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 753. She was used to dressing sexily even in the middle of winter. She wore a black cashmere miniskirt and black stockings that wrapped around her legs. Although there was a huge difference in height between her and Zhuang Yichen, it was rare that they were well proportioned. She went downstairs to the door and put on a light pink coat. She put on her favorite high heels and unlocked the door. Zhuang Yichen closed his eyes and breathed in and out. Suddenly, he heard a click from downstairs. What followed was the sound of a gotcha. Damn it! She dared to slam the door. Zhuang Yichen went downstairs and called Xiaoya. Little demon Qiu, don't overdo it. It'll be meaningless if you overdo it. Xiaoya hung up Zhuang Yichen's call and pulled her suitcase to her car. Zhuang Yichen's heart felt empty for a moment. It was as if his feet were weightless. For a moment, he was confused. They hadn't argued over anything in a long time. He also didn't like to make things difficult for her from time to time like before. Now, he had developed such a bad habit. Women really couldn't be spoiled. Xiaoya threw her suitcase into the back seat and pulled down the hood of the car. Just as she opened the door to the driver's seat, Zhuang Yichen locked the door. Little demon Qiu. Do you have to make a scene? The man's voice was unbearable. Xiaoya looked up at him and hated herself for fooling around with such a man for 4 years. Yes. I said to wait. Zhuang Yichen wasn't a person who liked to explain. However, at this moment, he still spoke up and urged her to stay. I'm not waiting. Xiaoya lowered her head and bit Zhuang Yichen's hand. The man flinched in pain. She quickly got into the car, closed the door, and locked the central control. No matter how Zhuang Yichen banged on the door, she refused to open it. She started the car and started it in an instant. Zhuang Yichen cursed and ran to his car. This crazy woman. Did she have to drive the car all the time? He swore in his heart. This is the last time. Little demon Qiu, this is the last time I'm going to chase you. Don't be ungrateful. Xiaoya's car drove towards Qingfeng Garden. When she was about to reach Qingfeng Garden, she realized that Zhuang Yichen had bought the house for her. What should she do? Her house was bought by Zhuang Yichen. All of her assets and shops were related to Zhuang Yichen. Not waiting. Of it. Of Zhuang Yichen. Where could she go? She could only go to the hotel. She did not want to go to the hotel. She was going to buy a new house tomorrow. So what if she started with Zhuang Yichen? Wasn't she also working hard to earn money? Of Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen was clearly dragging his feet and refusing to get married. How could a man like him be short of women? Every time he attended her press conference, he would bring a woman with him. He claimed that he was a clean freak, but who knew if he had an affair with those women? Everyone said that Zhuang Yichen was the most mysterious bachelor in Haicheng. Yes, he was the most mysterious. He was so mysterious that she couldn't understand him even though she had been with him for 4 years. Other than knowing that he always liked to press her under him in bed, she didn't know anything else. He liked to be in control of everything. It was the same for everything. Her press conference would be held wherever he wanted it to be. Her interview would be done by whichever magazine he wanted it to be. He never asked for her opinion and only received calls from Li Yong from time to time. Miss Chiu, starting next week, there will be a fashion show on the TV station. You will be a special guest and you will be participating in every episode. Young master wants you to prepare for it. He was always like this, making arrangements for her. Being famous wasn't enough. She had to be extremely famous. Other than forcing him to get married, she had never done anything against him, including breaking up with him. He had agreed to it without hesitation. Xiaoya pounded on the steering wheel with all her might. The loudspeaker was suddenly blaring on the road. Zhuang Yichen's car was following behind. He wanted to keep following her, but when he saw her car swaying and the loudspeaker blaring, he stepped on the accelerator and overtook her. The car windows were parallel and he looked to the right. The lights in the car were on and he could see the woman's face clearly. She opened her mouth and seemed to be screaming. As she screamed, she pounded on the steering wheel. The water stains on her face reflected the light. Zhuang Yichen's car drove over and slid down the window of the passenger's seat. After pressing on the horn, Xiaoya suddenly froze. She turned around and saw Zhuang Yichen's car right next to hers. He was shouting something at her. She couldn't be bothered with him. She wiped the tears off her face and stepped on the accelerator. Zhuang Yichen cursed in his heart as he chased after her. This D*MN woman was asking for it. But when he thought of how she had cried so sadly just now, he frowned deeply. He was really confused by her. He had already agreed to marry her. What else did she want? Zhuang Yichen's phone rang. He didn't want to pick it up, but when he glanced at the phone on the dashboard, he saw Xiao Man on the screen. He didn't let go of the accelerator and picked up the phone. It was faint, but gentle, and not distant. Xiao Man, Yichen, did Uncle Li tell you what I told you? The woman's voice was sweet, like a pear stewed with rock sugar. Uncle Li told me. Xiao Man, don't worry about me and Zhuang Yifeng. I don't care. You're telling me now, and you're asking me to not care. The woman's voice was sad. Something is going to happen to Shoreline Phase 3, right? Yichen, you won't put yourself in danger just to mess with him, right? He's not defenseless. It's not like you don't know what he's capable of. Zhuang Yichen stared at the car in front of him. His temples suddenly hurt, and his hands that were holding the steering wheel were trembling. His gaze seemed to skip the car in front of him and look further away. He gritted his teeth and said, "Of course. I've always known what he's capable of. You should stop, for your own sake." The woman was a little anxious. Xiao Man, don't worry about it. This is between me and him. The phone was silent for a while, then the woman said, Yichen, I'm settling the divorce with him. I'll tell him in 2 days. Her voice was full of hope and joy. Seeing the car in front turn, Zhuang Yichen said, Okay, I have something to do. I'll hang up first. Sleep early. Xiaoya's car drove into an alley. At the end of the road, there was a brick wall. Zhuang Yichen got out of the car and closed the door. He came out of the house, still wearing a thin sweater. He didn't seem to feel cold at all. He leaned against the door, but he wasn't as angry as he was in the car just now. His car was stuck in a traffic jam. He wanted to run behind her car. No matter where he ran, he couldn't run away from her. The alley was surrounded by brick walls. Some of the street lights were dark, and some were broken. He leaned there lazily and smiled. He was in a good mood, waiting for his little prey to walk into his trap. He saw the little vixen running towards him in high heels. Her legs were wrapped in black stockings, and it was extremely sexy. The air conditioner must be on in the car. She didn't wear a coat, and this little dress was really suitable on her. Her curves were really good. Xiaoyu rushed over angrily, grabbed Zhuang Yichen's collar, and stomped her feet. Zhuang Yichen. Drive your car away. No. Zhuang Yichen was a person who rarely joked outside, and was also exceptionally cold. At this moment, he was smiling playfully and speaking lazily, as if he was teasing someone. If outsiders saw this, they would definitely think that it was big news, but Xiaoyu was not surprised. You're blocking my way. Your car is driving forward, my car is behind you, aren't you blocking my way? Taking advantage of the situation, he hugged the woman's waist and pressed it against him. Xiaoyu tried to break free from Zhuang Yichen as she made a scene. Now my car is going to back out. You chose the road yourself, how can you retreat just because you want to? Just like. The man pushed the woman onto the roof of his car, and then pressed himself on top of her. He lowered his head and sucked on the woman's lips until she gasped for breath. Only then did he say in a low voice, just like this, I pressed you here, how can I let go just like that? Xiaoyu panicked, what are you trying to do? I'll go with you to get a marriage certificate tomorrow, how about that? You're lying to me. I'm not lying to you, I'll use my. He pulled the woman's hand and touched it to his lower body. I'll use it to promise you that I'll go with you to get a marriage certificate tomorrow. Xiaoyu touched that hard thing and quickly retracted her hand. You pervert. Then do you believe me? Zhuang Yichen laughed softly. I don't believe you. However, Zhuang Yichen ignored her and reached his hand into her skirt, tilting it to her ear. He lowered his head and licked her ear. You seduced me to this strange and sparsely populated place. What are you trying to do? Xiaoyu was still in the midst of the angry atmosphere just now. There was actually a place in Haiqing that he was unfamiliar with. Bah! Go away. As a token of gratitude for marrying you tomorrow, shouldn't you cooperate a little? He pressed her tightly and slowly pulled down the thing in her skirt. Xiaoyu was shocked. Zhuang Yichen, are you human? Even if you're in a hurry, you should still go to the car. But I want to take you, little vixen, on the roof of this car right now. Zhuang Yichen could subdue Xiaoyu with one hand. His hand pinched the sensitive part of her lower body, and when he heard the woman hiss in pain, he smiled. Xiaoyu saw Zhuang Yichen's dangerous smile and became even more nervous. At this moment, she heard the man's belt buckle unbuckle. The man's lips kissed her again, and he said hoarsely, the next time you dare to run away, I'll take you outside during the day, do you believe me? Xiaoyu didn't know that Zhuang Yichen was serious. One had to know that although this guy would pounce on her in the house, the two of them rarely had the chance to be together outside. Not to mention being so intimate, even kissing or hugging was not something that was possible. She thought that he was just scaring her, even though he had already unbuckled his belt, removed her underwear, and raised her butt. However, she also thought that he was just scaring her. After all, he always had the ability to be so calm and collected that he could scare people to death. This time, she really couldn't lose to him. When he aimed himself at her, it was too late for her to scream. Ad. Songshu 566. Chapter 754. There was no one at first, but you called a few people over. I don't care. He pushed her in. Ah! The winter wind was still a little cold. However, the roof of the car was still a little warm. Although Xiaoya was not wearing a jacket, she did not feel cold at all. Zhuang Yichen did not feel cold at all. He welded himself into her body, rubbing and pressing, listening to her suppressed and excited moans. Such a place made him very excited. Xiaoya looked around nervously. Looking at Zhuang Yichen, she came back to her senses again and again. She looked up and saw the man's face above her, and the countless stars in the sky were looking at her. "You're not allowed to run away next time, do you understand?" Xiaoya breathed heavily. "Did you hear that?" Xiaoya shouted after a hard bump. "Ah! Got it. I wanted to write it in more detail, but I didn't dare to. I heard that it would be very miserable after entering the little dark room, so I could only bear with it. Everyone can imagine it for themselves." Anyway, it means doing it." Xiaoya registered her marriage very quickly. Although she had moved into Zhuang Yichen's house a few months ago, the two of them rarely went in and out together. Today, they registered their marriage. Zhuang Yichen pulled her into the back seat of his silver Bugatti, and Li Yong drove. Zhuang Yichen leaned against the back seat. He was a cool person outside. He was expressionless and seemed a little arrogant. He pulled Xiaoya's hand as if he was playing with the claws of a small pet. He was nonchalant. Xiaoya snuggled in his arms. He asked lightly, "Are you happy?" "Yes, I'm happy." "Why did you pursue such a thing? Forcing him to get married, this woman." Xiaoya wrinkled her nose and snorted. "Then why didn't you take the initiative to invite me to sit in your car before we got married?" Zhuang Yichen thought for a while. "Xiaoyao, it's not good to be the wife of a rich man, I think it's good to be your wife." Thinking about how they would be entering the Civil Affairs Bureau later, Yi Er said that although the booklet was cheap, it was stamped with steel and couldn't compare to anything. Her heart was filled with sweetness. She hugged Zhuang Yichen's neck and put her little mouth on his ear. She bit her lip and smiled until her eyes narrowed. She said softly, "Yichen, I think I've loved you for a long time." "Do you think I fell in love with you a long time ago?" The woman's voice was like a feather, brushing his ears again and again. Li Yong glanced at the rearview mirror and found that the young master, who had always looked cold, was smiling gently. The corners of his lips squeezed the muscles on his face and his slender eyes were smiling. Zhuang Yichen didn't look at Xiaoya. He looked straight ahead and reached out to take the little head on his shoulder. He moved it closer to him. His gaze was still looking straight ahead and he smiled faintly, but his mouth was close to her ear. He whispered, "Change your posture tonight. If you do well, I'll give you a company." Xiaoya slapped his leg. No matter how thick-skinned she was, there was still someone sitting in front of them. If it was someone she was familiar with, it would be fine, but she wasn't familiar with Li Yong. Li Yong seemed to be Zhuang Yichen's elder. How could this guy be like this? What if he overheard? She refused softly, "No way. Change your posture tonight. If you do well, I'll give you a company and personally accompany you to pick out a diamond ring." Xiaoya anxiously looked at Li Yong's reaction. Her ears were burning. She lowered her head and reached out to grab Zhuang Yichen's leg. "Don't say any more." "I won't do it." Zhuang Yichen reached out and touched Xiaoya's ear. He couldn't help but laugh. He didn't let go of her head and continued to chuckle into her ear. "Change your posture tonight. You do it. If you do well, I'll give you a company and personally accompany you to pick out a diamond ring. In half a month, I'll give you a grand wedding." Xiaoya was stunned for a moment. She suddenly lay down on Zhuang Yichen's leg. Zhuang Yichen lowered his head to look at her. He saw that her back and shoulders were trembling and felt a wet touch on his leg. He raised his hand in the air and after a while, it landed on her hair. He still remembered that time when she met Kang Yian. In Kang Yian's wallet, there was a photo of her. At that time, her hair was long and the flowers that bloomed from her eyes were all lotus flowers. The smile at the corner of her mouth was pure and beautiful. He had never asked her what had caused her to become like this today. At least, he had never seen her with her long hair. She had never smiled at him like she did in that photo. Her hair was now just past her earlobes. She liked to wear sexy and enchanting clothes. Her makeup was the same, charming and enchanting. From the first time he saw her, she would move her snake-like waist to seduce him. She would sit in his arms generously. She treated him to a drink, but he was the one who paid the bill. There was a period of time when he wondered why he had never seen Xiaoya Qiu like in the photo. But now that he thought about it, from the beginning, the person he saw was Qiu Xiaoyao. In the following 4 years, the woman who was entangled with him countless times was also Qiu Xiaoyao. This demon had already cultivated into a spirit. The Qiu Xiaoya Qiu with long hair and pure eyes was just a synonym in the process of growth. Ye Chen's external appearance. Her hair was very soft. In his palm, it was smooth, just like the 4 years they had been together. It was very smooth and smooth. Except for that accident in the swamp, their relationship had always been very smooth. Breaking up did not affect them at all. Agreeing to marry her was something he could not understand at that time. It was just a bed partner. How could he lack one? Not all bed partners were Qiu Xiaoyao. This woman had been with him for 4 years. He had always admired her indifference. It made him feel no pressure at all. But when she said that she wanted to break up without caring, it completely messed up the balance between them. He thought that it was just an occasional mess and that it would be straightened out one day. But after she was in danger on the grassland, it messed up his balance again. She said that before she died, her last wish was actually like that. Xiaoya almost lost control of her emotions when she heard Zhuang Yichen say, "I'll give you a grand wedding." She wanted a wedding. A wedding to prove that Zhuang Yichen had a woman by his side called Qiu Xiaoya. But she was not greedy enough to want a grand wedding. She pinched her arm, thinking that she was dreaming. He said half a month, half a month. She had begged for so long but could not get it, but he said half a month. Qiu Xiaoyao, don't blame me for not reminding you. When we get the marriage certificate later, we have to take photos. If your eyes are red, then the photos can't be changed. Zhuang Yichen stroked the woman's hair and said slowly. Xiaoya immediately controlled her emotions. When she sat up, she quickly took a tissue and a mirror to clean her face. "You've dirtied my pants. What should I do?" Zhuang Yichen looked at Xiaoya and pointed at the wet marks on his legs. He said seriously, "Go back and change." "No." Xiaoya threw the mirror and tissue away and hugged Zhuang Yichen. "No, no. The photos only take the upper body. The pants can't be seen. It's okay." Zhuang Yichen seeing Xiaoya throw the mirror and tissue away, he could not help but laugh. But at this time, he only smiled faintly. "But I can see, and it's wet and uncomfortable." How pretentious. How can a man be so pretentious? Aren't my tears salty salt too? Every time you work out, don't you sweat when you go out to play basketball? Aren't they salt too? Your sweat can get on your body, but my tears can't. Why are you so pretentious? You're very sharp-tongued. You forced me to. Zhuang Yichen raised his hand and swept it. His slender fingers clasped on his knee and gently tapped it. "Hey, what do you think of the conditions I mentioned to you just now?" Xiaoya thought about her grand wedding and shrugged. She smiled nonchalantly and said, "I'm fine. I'm afraid that you won't be used to it." "Why wouldn't I be used to it?" Little Ye leaned over and whispered in his ear, "Ah. If I'm on top of you, will you be used to it?" Zhuang Yichen raised his eyebrows casually. "Of course. Liar, you've never been used to it. Don't think that I don't know." Zhuang Yichen did not care that the driver was still sitting in front of him. He shook his head. "That's because you're not good enough. Why don't I do it?" Xiaoya was so shocked that she covered his mouth. "Why are you speaking so loudly? What did I say? I only said that your skills need to be improved. You have to be worthy of the gift I gave you, right?" Xiaoya thought that it was better to stop talking. If she continued, Li Yong would treat the young master like heir, but he would feel uncomfortable with her, the young madam who had suddenly become the young madam. She kept fanning her eyes. When the photo was taken, Xiaoya was very excited. The photographer teased, "Looks like the bride has succeeded in her marriage." Xiaoya blushed and suddenly showed a hint of shyness. The camera flashed and the photo was taken. The moment they received the marriage certificate, Xiaoya took a photo of it and sent it to Jiang Zhao, Yi Er, and Xia Qian. She thought to herself, "I'm now a married person too." Xiaoya and Zhuang Yichen walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Suddenly, someone called out to them. The two of them turned around at the same time. When Zhuang Yichen saw who it was, he frowned. Xiaoya also frowned when she saw this person. She knew this person. It was Zhuang Yifeng. He didn't look like Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen's appearance was masculine, while Zhuang Yifeng was more feminine. Although he looked good when he smiled, it always made people feel that he was up to no good. Of course, Zhuang Yichen wasn't a good person either, but at least he wouldn't smile carelessly. She had always known that Zhuang Yichen didn't have a good relationship with his family. From Zhuang Yichen's indifferent words, she already had a rough idea of it. As for how bad it was, she had never asked in detail. This was because Zhuang Yichen was a person who was rarely happy. When she mentioned his brother once, his face darkened. She didn't want to ruin their lives. Yichen, what a coincidence. A woman's slender arm passed through the crook of Zhuang Yifeng's arm. Xiaoya knew that this person was Zhuang Yifeng's wife, Xian Man. Zhuang Yichen had inadvertently let go of Xiaoya's hand. When Xiaoya realized that she wanted to hold his hand, he subtly avoided it. Xiaoya was very unhappy. Songshu 566. Chapter 755. Yeah, what a coincidence, Zhuang Yichen replied faintly, sounding very distant. Zhuang Yifeng deliberately sized up the Civil Affairs Bureau and asked curiously, "What are you doing here?" Zhuang Yichen answered casually, "Just taking a look." Xiaoya wanted to say something, but Zhuang Yichen turned around and said coldly, "Take a taxi and go back to the store." Xiaoya was stunned and felt as if something was stuck in her throat. She saw Xian Man holding on to Zhuang Yichen's arm and chatting with him. She didn't know if it was her sixth sense or her own inexplicable feeling, but she felt that the atmosphere was very strange. The way Xian Man looked at Zhuang Yichen was even softer than the way she looked at Zhuang Yichen. Damn it! In broad daylight, in front of her husband and wife, these two bastards were actually flirting with each other. How infuriating! Xiaoya had always met people from the upper class, so she naturally knew that it wasn't easy being a rich man's wife. Of course, she couldn't make a scene when she encountered such a situation. She had never thought that she was Zhuang Yichen's only woman. In fact, she had always felt that she was just one of Zhuang Yichen's many women. However, Zhuang Yichen's scandals never ended. Zhuang Yichen and Zhuang Yifeng didn't have a good relationship and had always been at odds with each other. Xiaoya didn't know the reason, but now that she saw that Zhuang Yichen was only looking at someone else's wife, she suddenly had a bold thought. Zhuang Yichen hated Zhuang Yifeng. Could it be related to Xian Man? As her thoughts drifted, she heard the man's cold scolding, "Why aren't you leaving?" Zhuang Yifeng laughed out loud, "Yichen, it's not good to be so fierce to Miss Chiu." Xiaoya felt uncomfortable being sized up by Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen didn't give her face, but she couldn't not give him face. She stood elegantly and smiled politely. Zhuang Yichen had never called Zhuang Yifeng and Xian Man big brother and sister-in-law, so she thought that she shouldn't call them that. "Mr. Zhuang, Mrs. Zhuang, I'll leave first. You two chat." Xiaoya hailed a taxi. After getting in, she slammed the door shut. She reached her hand into her handbag and felt the two marriage certificates. Her chest heaved up and down. When Zhuang Yichen was chatting with Xian Man, he always neglected Zhuang Yichen. The atmosphere was a little awkward. It wasn't until Zhuang Yichen got in the car that Zhuang Yifeng's face turned cold. He watched as Zhuang Yichen's car drove away. "Xian Man, there are some things that you can't play with me," Xian Man was stunned. She stiffened her back and said, "You never believed me." Zhuang Yifeng turned to look at Xian Man, whose face was a little pale. "Believe you? Do you think I don't know about your relationship?" Zhuang Yichen smiled coldly. "Tell me, have you slept with him again recently?" Xian Man's eyes widened. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "Nonsense?" Zhuang Yifeng grabbed Xian Man's hand. "When he saw you, he even chased away the woman around him. Didn't you notice that Qiu Xiaoya was jealous?" "What does that have to do with me?" "It means that Zhuang Yichen treats you differently from how he treats Qiu Xiaoya." Zhuang Yifeng tightened his grip, and Xian Man cried out in pain. "Ah!" There were people coming and going at the entrance of the police station. Zhuang Yifeng didn't like to be looked at like a monkey, so he dragged Xian Man away. When he threw Xian Man into the car, Zhuang Yifeng still didn't let go of her hand. He leaned over and said with a gloomy expression, "Xian Man, Zhuang Yichen hasn't had a woman for so many years. Isn't it because of you?" It wasn't that Xian Man was unhappy, but she was afraid of Zhuang Yifeng's capriciousness. "He has always been like this. It has nothing to do with me. The two of you don't even try to avoid suspicion. How dare you say it has nothing to do with you? Last week, you went to Hainan. Did you go with him? Did the two of you go out to fool around?" "Huh?" Zhuang Yifeng's eyes were full of jealousy. He had snatched this woman from Zhuang Yichen. He had done everything he could to train her, but now he still felt that this woman could fly. "You are unreasonable." Zhuang Yifeng kissed Xian Man as if he was possessed. He took off her clothes and muttered, "I want to see how much you miss him. The next time you see him, you look like you can't wait to crawl into his arms. I'll kill you." Zhuang Yichen got into the car and said to Li Yong, "Uncle Li, have you collected all the information for Shoreline Phase 3? "Yes, young master. There are still some left. I am afraid that only Mayor Jiang can get them." "Okay, I'll go look for him tonight." Zhuang Yichen held his phone in his hand and pressed the screen with his fingers. He looked at the time and felt that Jiang Zhao should not be free at this time, so he waited for a while until the car arrived. Only when he was downstairs at Stars International did he make the call. "Brother Zhao. What's up?" Jiang Zhao clipped his phone to his shoulder. He held a pen in his hand and quickly wrote on the note. After he finished writing, he tore the note and passed it to Li Ran. Li Ran looked at it and said softly to Shin Kai, who was sitting on the sofa, "Mr. Shin, please wait for a while." Shin Kai nodded and did not say anything. Jiang Zhao continued to work. "I'll send the information for Shoreline Phase 3 to you tonight." Zhuang Yichen's question was very tactful. He could not just ask him directly, "When are you going to get rid of Zhuang Yifeng for me?" "Tonight?" Jiang Zhao looked at Shin Kai and hesitated. Shin Kai sat on the sofa and shrugged. He raised his right hand and gestured for Zhuang Yichen to go ahead. Zhuang Yichen asked, "You are not free?" Looking at the generous Shin Kai, Jiang Zhao could not take advantage of him. "Okay." Zhuang Yichen thought for a while. "How about this? You can send the information to my house. I will settle other things tonight and go back to look at the information. I will call you again." "Okay. I will not disturb you from your work. Goodbye." "Goodbye." Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone. "Uncle Li, help me wrap up the jade pillow that I bought last time." "Ah." Li Yong was puzzled. That item had cost a lot of money. "Are you giving this jade pillow to Mayor Jiang?" Zhuang Yichen thought for a while. "I don't have any use for this item. Mrs. Jiang is pregnant now, and jade is good for her health. The last time we bought this jade pillow, the seller had said that pregnant women will get upset easily. That jade pillow is not an ordinary jade pillow. It can help pregnant women to sleep better. Just send it over." "But what if Mayor Jiang does not accept it?" "It's not up to me. I'll get Xiaoya to do it." "Okay. I will go back in the afternoon to wrap it up." Zhuang Yichen nodded and alighted from the car. Shen Kai sat on the sofa and crossed his legs. Mayor, you are really busy. Busy as you? Jiang Zhao was really busy. He does not want to work overtime at night. If he can hold meetings during the day, he will not hold them at night. If he can let the deputy mayor handle the social activities, he will not do it himself. Yes, of course you won't be as busy as me. Your family doesn't have anything to run around. When Shen Kai talked about big things, he also had an indifferent expression. If Jiang Zhao did not guess wrongly, the only time Shen Kai was jealous in front of him was because of Shen Xian. Jiang Zhao signed the last document in his hand. Okay. He put down his pen and walked to the reception area. He sat down. Is the Shen family's situation so bad now? It's not that bad. Shen Xian's matter has indeed put the Shen family in a very passive position. Fortunately, the old man has always been a very strong person. The Shen family will not collapse. We have mines in Shaanxi and Yunnan. We just need some time and we'll be able to recover very soon. But right now, recovery is not that fast. Jiang Zhao, on the other hand, admired old Master Shen's courage, and he was more and more impressed with Shen Kai. You came to me so openly to ask about the internal projects. Is it okay? Shen Kai pouted. Yes, it is not okay. If not, you should give up your mayor position for me. Then I will not look for you. Ha ha ha. Jiang Zhao laughed out loud. Let me put it this way. The bidding for the Ocean Bridge project requires a large amount of funds as a deposit. I have an idea. Tonight, I'll ask Fei Yan out. You guys can sit together and have a good talk. If this project is taken over by the Qin and Shen families, I feel that no other company will be able to snatch it. Mayor Jiang, tell me. How should I thank you? Before Jiang Zhao could say anything, Shen Kai had stood up and sighed. You should not want to marry me. I will pay for dinner. Jiang Zhao stood up and wanted to give him a punch. Shen Kai quickly took a step back and raised his eyebrows. I am not taking benefits for free. Let me tell you something. Someone reported you and Zhuang Yichen, ******. Jiang Zhao paused for a moment. Report? Yes. It is anonymous. Shen Kai was no longer joking. But from the contents of the report, it seems that the person who reported you is not very familiar with your situation. I don't think there is any solid evidence. Jiang Zhao laughed. In this society, there will be waves even if there is no wind. Shen Kai knew some things were not suitable for him to know. So, he did not ask any more questions and left. Qin Fian called. Brother, come home for dinner tonight. Fian, I have an appointment with Shen Kai tonight. You should join us. Are you serious? I have already told Qian to show off her skills tonight. It's the project of the Cross-Sea Bridge. My time is also tight. You arrange it yourself. Jiang Zhao was still a little annoyed by the matter mentioned by Shen Kai at this time. Therefore, his words were a little stiff. Qin Fian could tell that Jiang Zhao's tone was not good. He did not say anything else and hung up the phone. Zhuang Yichen looked at the documents prepared by Li Yong. If it was not for Jiang Zhao, he would not have been able to solve this problem. He would have to create trouble on stage. He did not want to delay Zhuang Yifeng's matter any longer. Now, Zhuang Yifeng still wanted to get old Zhuang out of prison. He would not give them the chance to do so. It was not time for Xia Qian to get off work. The minister came over with a smile. Xiao Xia, you can get off work now. Ah. Xia Qian was confused. Why? Young Master Fian is here to pick you up. Come and see, Songshu 566.